Morning, we're ready to get started. I apologize for the delay.
You had a crystal glass. Uh-oh, now you're going to use it.
Morning.
I'm going to use the gavel.
Can I ask everybody to please take your seats so we can begin our meeting this morning? Thank you. All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Baxter. Here. Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward. Here. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to ask Commissioner Marino to please lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. If you're able to, please rise.
Good morning, all. I see we have a crowded house. So let's pray for everyone that is in this room. Let's pray for everything that we do for others. Let's pray for those that are less fortunate that we are. Let's pray that the business at hand goes smoothly, and let's pray for each other. And with that, I say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Madam Administrator, do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Mayor, good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. We have on page 1, 2C, add-on oath of office to our newly appointed commissioner. Page 1, 2D, another add-on roll call once the new board has been seated. Page 12, 3E2, a revised motion. Page 30, DD1, revised motion. Page 33, 4A has been deleted for further staff review. Page 33, 4B, revised district proclamation. Page 36, 5B1 has been postponed until January 24th. On page 37, 38, 5C1 has been revised, eliminating motion B, and then further information on 2 in the summary. That concludes the add and delete sheet.
All right, thank you very much. I'll take a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by Vice Mayor Sachs. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right. Next, we will then move on to our swearing in. And
Mr. Mayor, just to make sure, are we supposed to approve the agenda? That's to A and B.
right, we took a motion on adoption of the agenda.
Okay.
All right. Clerk is clear? Very good. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we will now, if you have, and if you'd like to speak, let me just say, what's going to happen is we're going to perform the swearing in. We will allow for public comment, but if you wish to make a comment, you need to submit a comment card. And then from there, once that's completed and comments have completed, we'll then take a brief recess so we can arrange the chairs, and then we will come back to order with our roll call. Okay, with that, I guess we will move out of the way and let's get this started.
Morning. Can everybody hear me? Yes. I'm Ed Artow. I'm a judge at the 4th District Court of Appeal, and I'm here to administer the oath of office to our new county commissioner, Michael Barnett. We have some family that is going to assist with the holding of the Bible for the, would you please come forward? Family members. And could you stand next to Commissioner Barnett to assist? Thank you very much. Well, this is a very special moment for Commissioner Barnett. Commissioner Barnett, would you please raise your right hand? And with your other hand, you can place it on the Bible that your family is going to assist you with, and then repeat after me. I, Michael Barnett, do solemnly swear
I, Michael Barnett, do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida,
the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state,
that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of County Commissioner,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of County Commissioner,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, you are our next County Commissioner.
All right. I think we have public comment.
Right now, I have only one public comment card. Does anyone else want to put one in? On item 2C, swearing in? If not, Angelique Contreras is our one and only card.
Okay. Ms. Contreras, are you with us? Okay. With that, I'd like to go ahead. We'll go ahead and take our recess now.
Excuse me, adjournment, actually.
What's that?
Adjournment, actually, and then we will come back and do roll call again and be the new board.
Okay. Then we will adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, hold on.
Not at all. Why don't we do adjourn? Yeah, would that work?
Do you, let him speak.
Would you like to make comments, sir? I was hoping to make comments. Oh, absolutely. You didn't have to sign the card, you just really signed it. Okay, all right. Commissioner Barnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, all of my family and friends, and everyone in attendance. Well, it's nice to be back on the dais. Actually, we used to hold our committee meetings here a long time ago, and never thought I'd get to come back, but what an honor. This is an incredible day, and I do understand the historic gravity of my appointment. I want to thank, first of all, our great governor, Ron DeSantis, for entrusting me with this responsibility. I want to thank my girlfriend, fiance, Katie, for putting up with me during even the roughest of times. I'm grateful for my sister, Monique, and her husband, Nelson, for coming down. My Aunt Marianne, Uncle Jimmy, Brian, Phyllis, Mark, Uncle Mark, thank you for all for coming, my family. Who I don't get to see often enough. I want to thank my friends from the GOP who are here, my longtime friends over the last 12 years, come out to support me for so long. My colleagues from the great Shiner Law Group, Dave Shiner, my co-workers over the last 6 years, so grateful you could be here to support me as well. I want to thank my mom, who's not with us anymore, but I know it's her prayers from heaven that have been sustaining me all this time. And these last few days have shown me the great amount of information that I have to learn. As you all know, this is my first time in public office, and I'm listening to a lot of great people who have been so incredibly helpful. I want to thank especially Ms. Virginia Baker and Ms. Denise Kaufman and all the commissioners who I've chatted with, who have helped me give me an idea of what to expect over the next couple of days and weeks. Dave Bernhardt, Dana Ackerman, and I haven't met Catherine, but she's agreed to stay. I spoke to her once and look forward to meeting with her in person, as well as Dana. She's agreed to stay as well, and I can't thank you enough for helping me through this process of getting to know everyone in the process. I very much enjoyed, again, getting to work with Virginia and Denise, everyone at the county. They've eased my transition into this new role. I don't really have any agenda other than to serve the people in this district, District 3. That's my primary and only goal as a county commissioner, to do the very best I can for all the people in the county, to deliver good, competent governance and representation for the district while promoting policies that help to eliminate barriers to economic development and help businesses to expand and relocate to our county, to reduce intrusion upon the lives of everyday Palm Beach County residents in every way possible. This is my home. I've lived here in Palm Beach County for 35 years. I'm new to District 3, but I'm going to meet as many people as I can from around District 3 so they get to know me, so I understand them, understand what they expect of me as their representative on this esteemed board. I want to be known as the commissioner, whether I serve 2 years or another term after that. I want to be known as the commissioner who left Palm Beach County better than I found it. Again, I want to thank the governor who appointed me, and I hope to gain the trust of the people in District 3 and of all my colleagues and everybody in this room. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the commission. Thank you, everyone.
Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Myself and Commissioner Kerner, we started at the same time in 2016, so I'm going to miss Commissioner Kerner. And Michael, I want to welcome you to the Board of County Commissioners and look forward to working with you, so in that way we can continue to help not just the residents of District 3, but all of the residents of Palm Beach County. So thanks for, very happy that you're joining us.
Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Mike, you're going to be known now as Commissioner. And as with anything that carries authority, you have a great responsibility. I know you will carry it out. You have been, I can tell because you came here early and you spoke with all of us. You got to know everybody on the 12th floor. And we were so happy to see you. And I know that you're going to be my seatmate, hopefully. So we can work together in really serving the people of your district and the people of Palm Beach County, because that's what a commissioner does. It's a great authority, but great responsibility. And I just think that coming from New York City, you know how to handle that. I think you're going to be just fine here. So welcome to the commission, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Hello, welcome Commissioner Barnett. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I got to work with him some while I was campaigning and had wonderful support. And I'd like to say we did have a brief conversation earlier when it looked like this was on the brink of happening, and I let him know that staff has been wonderful to me. I bombard them with questions all the time, and they're very accommodating. So, you know, anything that you want to know, there are people in this building or in a building somewhere in this county that'll get you what you want to know. And that's the best part of this job for me so far, is having all my questions answered and then having the ability to meet with constituents and be able to pass their questions along as well and get answers. So it really is a great opportunity to be a representative for the people in this county and in your district. And I'm so excited and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to welcome Commissioner Barnett. I just couldn't be more excited. I have come to know you over the past couple years, again, campaigning, and several people in this room along that process, and I couldn't be more excited for you, and what an honor and a joy it is to be up here to be able to help the residents of Palm Beach County, and now you get to be a part of that, so I'm so excited.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Commissioner Barnett, welcome. I enjoyed our conversations over the last couple of days. I'm not going to say you have big shoes to fill. Anytime that any one of us takes this role, we have big shoes to fill. And your goal of leaving the commission a better place than you found it is a very wonderful goal that we all aspire to. And I look forward to working with you and the rest of the new commissioners in the future. And Mac, in 2 years, when we say our goodbyes to you, it will have been a pleasure. But in the meantime, I look forward to the work of the day, and let's get on with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Mr. Mayor, two things. Commissioner Kerner is watching this meeting, so I'm sure that he misses the residents of District 3, and so I'm sure he'll get the chance to do a proper goodbye to us. And then also, Ms. Angelique Contreras is here.
All right. We'll go ahead and allow Ms. Contreras, if you would like.
Angelique, you put in a comment card?
It's always a pleasure to be in this dais. Thank you for all of you, how you govern. Looking forward to the new year. So happy New Year to all of you. Congratulations, Michael Barnett, Commissioner Michael Barnett. How crazy is that to say after working with him side by side for many years with the Republican Party? It's super exciting to see you on that dais and work with everyone on this board to make Palm Beach County a better place. I did bring a gift for Kerner today. Sad to not see him sitting behind there to be able to give it to him, but I am going to give it to his assistant so they can give it over to him, and hopefully everyone will be able to see what it is I gifted him. But again, thank you guys. Have a happy new year, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you in this new year.
Thank you. So, before we adjourn, I want to extend my welcome to you, Commissioner Barnett. I look forward to serving with you. I have to say, this has been one of the most honorable things that I've ever done with my life, and I think you're going to find it the same. It's an awesome responsibility, but it's amazing to be able to help our community be a better place for everybody. So I look forward to serving with you. You can count on my support as you make this transition. We're all here for you. We function although we have differences of opinions on policies and things, we function as a board together to make this a better place, and so you can count on that from all of us. So I want to welcome you, and we look forward to serving with you. And with that, we will have an adjournment, and we'll make a couple of changes up here, and then we will come back to order. Thank you. Let's count on, what does staff need? How much time?
Probably about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so we'll come back. We'll start, it's 9:55, so let's come back at 5 after 10. the dais so we can come back to order. All righty. Can I ask, we'll call this meeting to order. Board of County Commissioners meeting on January 10th, 2023. Madam Clerk, will you please take our roll?
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Commissioner Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sacks.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
All right. And just to note that Commissioner Bernard had another something to attend to, and so he will not be joining us for the rest of the meeting today. All right, so we are now at item number 3, the consent agenda. Would any commissioner like to remove any item from the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by Vice Mayor Sacks. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. So moving on, item number 4, special presentations. And that can be found on page 33 of your agenda. And first up is going to be District 4, 4A, and followed by District 3 on page 33.
Can I call Seth Bernstein, Dana Polda, and Vivian Pasmino? Thank you. This is for United Way, yes. We are recognizing the 20th anniversary of the Palm Beach County Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program. Whereas Palm Beach County has partnered with the Internal Revenue Service for the past 19 years to provide free, confidential, and secure tax preparation and e-filing of tax returns to qualified low to moderate income households through the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Grant Program, also known as VITA. And whereas VITA is an all-volunteer-driven program provided by IRS certified volunteers, and whereas VITA is an economic and long-term financial stability program assisting households with annual incomes at or below 80% of the area median family income. The economic impact over the last 19 years is just under $400 million. And whereas VITA has a main focus on assisting taxpayers who qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, also known as EITC, yes? EITC, okay, which is a refundable federal tax credit program for low to moderate income working individuals and families. Where EITC exceeds the amount of taxes owed, this results in a tax refund to those who claim and qualify for the credit. Today, the EITC is one of the largest anti-poverty tools in the United States. And whereas VITA also assists taxpayers who qualify for the child tax credit, that is a fully refundable tax credit for families with qualifying children and decreases taxpayers' tax liability on a dollar-for-dollar basis. Whereas VITA operates approximately 19 states throughout Palm Beach County that are staffed by approximately 150 volunteers and served approximately 9,000 residents each year. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 10th day of January 2023, that the board hereby recognizes this 20th anniversary of United Way of Palm Beach County Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program. Be it further proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County that this proclamation is duly sealed, ribboned, and executed by the members of this board. The foregoing proclamation was sponsored by Commissioner Marcy Woodward, and upon unanimous consent of the board, the mayor declared this proclamation duly enacted. And Donna's going to speak.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, just to say thank you so much to the Board of County Commissioners for their continued support of the VITA program as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. I'm not going to repeat some of the things that Commissioner Woodward said, but I did want to say just over the past 19 years, give you some statistics on what we've accomplished. So we've filed almost 170,000 tax returns. Refunds have consisted of almost $268 million. The Earned Income Tax Credit has refunded to families in need of almost $100 million, and the Child Tax Credit of almost $40 million. So once again, we just wanted to thank you, and we look forward to your continued support and partnership.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm also going to have Commissioner Barnett join me. Good morning, everyone. Briefly, I would just like to say this is actually an honor, and twice as much so because this is the first proclamation I will be giving out as a commissioner, and I get to share the honor with Commissioner Barnett. So if you would bear with us. Heidi, please come up. This is Dr. Heidi Schaefer. So, declaring January 2023 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month, whereas human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery impacting nearly 25 million people worldwide and occurs when a person is recruited, harbored, obtained, or exported through force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of sexual exploitation, forced labor, involuntary servitude, debt bondage, or other methods of slavery. And whereas human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world today and is tied with arms smuggling as the second largest international criminal industry, whereas human traffickers view Florida as one of the most attractive destinations and transit point of their victims and account for the third largest call volume to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I'm going to share.
Whereas Palm Beach County was the first of Florida's 67 counties to implement an ordinance requiring posting of informational signs at certain types of facilities to inform potential trafficking victims of the remedies and protections provided by federal and state law, and whereas reports from the Florida Department of Children and Families indicate that among the calls to the child abuse hotline in Palm Beach County in 2022, there were over 88 reports of the trafficking of minors, 80 of which were reports of commercial sexual exploitation of children, and 8 were reports of labor trafficking of children. And whereas Palm Beach County is committed to sending a strong message to perpetrators that our county has zero tolerance for all forms of human trafficking. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 4th day of January 2022, that January 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Human Trafficking Prevention Month.
Thank you.
Invite the contingent up.
Come on. Just briefly, I do want to thank all the officers that make this even possible, and thank you to everyone in law enforcement that has helped make this a safer community.
So I would like to thank the County Commission for allowing time for this today. I know we do this every year, but it's an honor that I am Sarah's first proclamation that we're doing the right thing for people that are suffering from this heinous crime. We are third out of our 67 counties, but I think Palm Beach County is awesome, and we have so many great advocates right here that do this hard work every day to make it better. Thank you so much also, Commissioner, the new commissioner, Mike Burnett, for being here to introduce this proclamation as well. And of course, I can't be remiss, I want to welcome Marcy. Been a long time, and I'm glad you're here. But I definitely wanted to let people know that we have some warriors in this room. I know the Palm Beach Task Force will be talking briefly when I'm done, in about 2 minutes, about what they do, because they really are a force to be reckoned with. We have a U.S. attorney here who handles these cases, and they're very tough to prosecute. You heard the legal definition, but putting that into action is a whole different world, and I know Greg Schiller can testify to that. We also have Victim Services. You guys support Victim Services. It's your county organization. They are heroes amongst us, and they help our victims with every single need they can. The one area we need help with, hopefully the County Commission will answer our prayers, is housing. I think every single one of us would agree that when we get the opportunity to help these victims, we have really nowhere to put them. So hopefully some of the housing money that you all have, we can put that to good use. Flight Center is here. For those of you who don't know Flight Center, they came from Broward County. They got a huge federal grant, which tells you how recognized they are, specifically for human trafficking programs. They really do an amazing job, and I think that model will be replicated across all 50 states eventually. But they chose us, Palm Beach County, to expand into. We have a drop-in center in West Palm Beach. If any of you want to come and check it out, please do so. That's available for the public as well. And also, last but not least, I'm a big fan of education. I'm the previous president of the Human Trafficking Coalition of the Palm Beaches. We have the current one here today, Laura. If you can please afterwards, if any of you are interested in attending these meetings, you will learn about the nuances of human trafficking and how to make a report. But anyway, I just want to thank you. Thank you, Sarah. When you were running for election, you told me you had a passion for this area, these vulnerable victims, and here you are, already demonstrating your commitment. I am so grateful that your leadership is here. I'm excited to see what this board does for us in 2023. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Henderson of PBSO to talk about the task force for a minute.
Well, as usual, it's tough to follow her because she kind of covers everything. But I just wanted to thank, I'm Lieutenant Grant Henderson from Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. I'm have the privilege of working with all the detectives and the advocates and all our partners when it comes to the Human Trafficking Task Force. I wanted to thank the board for keeping this front and center. It is a huge problem in our county. We're third in the state, and the state of Florida, unfortunately, is third in the nation when it comes to this crime. I wanted to let you all know that the detectives that work these cases are second to none. We are very, very lucky. They were, before I got there, handpicked by somebody very smart, and they do a fantastic job, them and the advocates that work these cases. They are very victim-centered. We have victims that communicate with our detectives long after they've been rescued. Birthday cards go back and forth. It becomes kind of a thing. So, and again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we would be nowhere without the partnerships that we have in the county with Victim Services and Catholic Charities and all the people that are standing here behind us, the folks at the State Attorney's Office and the U.S. Department of Justice. So thank you very much for recognizing it.
Behind me, I'm so short. Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, my colleagues, I'd like to start with a proclamation declaring January 28th, 2023 as More Than Pink Day. If you've wondered why we are all wearing pink today, this is going to explain why we wear pink today. Whereas, and if I could have Jamie Bellamy, who's the Development Director of Florida, Susan G. Coleman, if she could come forward, and Alexa Miranda, Development Manager for South Florida, Susan G. Coleman, and Palm Tran attendees Clinton Forbes, and the Government Affairs Manager Deborah Posey Blocker. If you could all come on up. We are going to declare January 28th, 2023 as More Than Pink Day. Whereas it is critical to provide support to those facing breast cancer, because approximately 1/3 of breast cancer deaths could be prevented if everyone received the high-quality care that exists today. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has caused additional burdens and barriers to breast cancer treatment. Whereas the Susan G. Komen Patient Care Center is designed to remove barriers and help achieve health equity by providing access to high-quality care to anyone, anywhere in the United States. And whereas the West Palm Beach More Than Pink Walk will be held on January 28th, 2023 at the Meyer Amphitheater in downtown West Palm Beach to offer support to those who have been impacted by breast cancer and to further the mission of Susan G. Komen. And whereas money for the More Than Pink Walk, raised by participants and donated by sponsors, advances research to find new discoveries and more effective treatments, allows Komen to provide evidence-based breast health education for health services and support in the community. Whereas the More Than Pink bus is a partnership of Susan G. Komen South Florida, Lamar Transit Advertising, and Palm Tram that will be seen by more than 544,000 times a month. And whereas the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners and County Administrator Virginia Baker encourages screening and expansion of treatment of breast cancer. Now therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 10th day of January 2023, that January 28th, 2023 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed more than Pink Day. Congratulations, all of you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. My name is Tanya Burke. This March, I will be a 5-year breast cancer survivor. Thank you very much. As the Commissioner said, that the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure Walk is January 28th. We welcome invite each and every one of you to participate. If you can participate physically, walking, we encourage you to register. The best way to register is online, and even if you're not able to walk, we ask that you do provide a donation. I've had the opportunity to move back home. I am a native of West Palm Beach, and the very next year, I participated as a supporter. And then 2 years later, I was actually going through my treatment. And then in 2019, I was a warrior in pink. And now I am on the other side as a veteran and an ambassador for the organization. So thank you so much, and we appreciate your support.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Board, thank you for this opportunity. We are very thrilled to partner with Susan G. Komen and Lamar Transit Advertising to bring awareness. You know, I'm sure you have seen our buses on the road, and some of our buses have advertising on them. We get a small bit of revenue from that advertising to offset some of our expenses. But I'll submit to you that there is no greater return than this bus wrap in bringing awareness to people about breast cancer. If we can have one person out of the thousands of impressions that will take place as this bus traverses this county called to get a screening, we have won. So we are very pleased to partner on this very important endeavor. Thank you.
Well, while they're photographing, I'd like to bring up members of the Lessing Group and Houston Tate, Jeff Koons, Maura Plant. It's my honor to do this proclamation recognizing the Lessing Group for all they do for the community and their partnership with Maura Plant from Living Hungry and Jeff Koons, one of our previous county commissioners. And I'll take a moment of personal privilege to say it was my pleasure to, at Thanksgiving, be helpful in giving out those 150 dinners that you all donated to our Office of Community Revitalization, and just the people that you help, that you reach with all of this is so wonderful. And on another point of personal privilege, it was my honor to perform a wedding ceremony at the Pelican Club with the historic Jupiter Lighthouse in the background. So you all have really embraced our community and do so much. So with that, I'd like to read a proclamation recognizing the Lessing Hospitality Group. Whereas Lessing Hospitality Group, Lessings, founded in 1890, is the oldest family-owned food service company in the U.S. based in Great River, New York, and operated by 15 family members spanning 6 generations. And whereas Lessings feeds more than 40,000 guests per day at 120 corporate, educational, country club, and manufacturing plant locations throughout the Northeast and Florida. And whereas Lessings also operates 21 wedding and catering venues, 20 full-service restaurants, 2 pop-up kitchen concepts, and a historic inn, while adapting to an ever-changing industry with a focus on personalized and remarkable hospitality. And whereas Lessings is steeped in over 130 years of tradition that includes a commitment to supporting food bank partners in the form of volunteerism and monetary donations. And whereas Lessing's waterfront dining establishment along Jupiter Inlet Village have donated thousands of pantry boxes containing canned goods, snacks, and toiletries delivered to people in need through various local nonprofit organizations. And whereas for 2 years in a row, Lessings has provided more than 150 Thanksgiving turkeys and boxes of fresh vegetables through the Palm Beach County Office of Community Revitalization and in collaboration with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office to feed food insecure residents in 5 targeted neighborhoods in Commission District 1. And whereas Lessings has hosted and participated in monthly beach cleanups along the Jupiter Inlet, and whereas Palm Beach County wishes to recognize Lessings Hospitality Group for their philanthropic efforts, community partnerships, and contributions to help residents of Palm Beach County, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 10th day of January 2023, that the board hereby recognizes the Lessings Hospitality Group, sponsored by Maria Marino. And I so welcome you all here today. And would you like to say a couple words? Michael Lessing.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Marino for all your support, as well as Administrator Baker and Mayor Weiss and the entire County Commission. It's an honor for us to work with such great people. And as you just kind of read the history, we're a 6th-generation family-owned and operated business. Operating in Florida, up in North County, in Jupiter area, and now down at the Kravis Center, right down the street from us here. Part of our culture is, to give back to the community, and obviously being a family-owned and operated company, we choose to stay apolitical and support the environment and to support family. And this has been a great opportunity for us to work with your team. Houston Tate and Mora Plant are just awesome partners. To be able to provide meals on such an important day like Thanksgiving to those in need, so that they can sit down and break bread and have those conversations we all have on a regular basis. It's just really an important part of our culture. And I said, I have a great team with Michelle and Liz that oversee, and I can tell you that we have a Do Good initiative with our company, and we never lack for volunteers, whether it's 6 in the morning to hand out pantry boxes, or to hand out turkeys, whatever it might be, or to be out cleaning the beaches. I said our team members love getting involved in it, and we love being part of it. So, thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the board. This is just a wonderful opportunity to thank a great organization. During COVID, they provided well over 25 boxes of food during COVID. But, that November, I got a call from Michael's brother, David, said, well, Mr. Tate, what else can we do for you? So they provided well over 300 turkeys during Thanksgiving. And of course, subsequent to that, this Thanksgiving, we had another 300 turkeys that were provided to us through Canal Point, and also we provided it to Limestone Creek, Cabana Colony. And in addition to this, Mora stepped up and said, you're working with the Lessons Group again? I said, hey, absolutely. And she said, well, we're going to have to do something special this year. She arranged to engage with a number of partners that provided well over 400 boxes of food and, I should say, fruits and vegetables that went with the meals. I mean, my phone was blowing off the hook from people just calling and saying, Mr. Tate, thank you for this wonderful Thanksgiving. And I'm glad I have this opportunity to say it didn't come just from the Office of Community Revitalization. It came from also this awesome partner behind me, Jeff Coons. I get more texts from him telling me what he's going to do, from Mora Platt, who's setting up everything for me, and then Liz from the Lessons Group, all of which this opportunity to provide this has been so easy to do. It has been a blessing to see how many organizations are so happy and glad to provide for us. So this is, and he started something, because now 2022 was the best Thanksgiving that we were able to do. So we we set another stage, and I will be talking to Michael gladly about the team behind me. And also, I want to mention PBSO has done just a wonderful job. They've been not only helping us pack the load the trucks up, but they've delivered to communities that could not have their transportation. The communities have to be recommended because they found the families who most need it the most. They registered them so that we were able to do this in a very organized way. And then I got my staff, William, oddly is not here, but George, they stopped grunting on Fridays when we do our distribution. They are now spirited to do this every Friday, and it couldn't be done without this awesome team. So thank you all, and I'm glad that this opportunity to thank Michael also recognizes the entire team that it took to do this. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Maura Plant, the founder of Living Hungry, and I'm here to brag a little bit about this team in ways that they can about themselves, okay? So the Lessings Hospitality Group was founded in 1890. 15 Lessings family members run this show 6 generations later continuously. And what does that look like? In 2019, they came to Palm Beach County with Charlie and Joe's on Love Street, Lucky Shuck, Beacon, Topside, Tackle Box, Pelican Club in Jupiter, and now the Kravis Center. So that's their businesses that you guys can support in support of this group. The Lessings are no ordinary corporate business-minded people. These are some of the best innovators I have ever seen. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Lessings innovated fast and started packing meal boxes for hungry New Yorkers, funded by the City of New York. The West Palm Beach City Commissioner Christy Fox said to me, "Why doesn't Living Hungry get those boxes down here?" And so we did. Working with Houston Tate, Palm Beach County Office of Community Revitalization, we invited the Lessings to ship their pantry boxes to the hungry in our communities. Started in August 2020, and our first 53-foot semi arrived then, and then every month for 5 months continually. This is all thanks to the county funding from the CARES Act, approved by you guys. So 1,300 OCR families got the most needed pantry items twice a month, handed out by the eager team of Lessings staff to get the boxes into the right cars in the right quantities on Thursday mornings before work. That's the kind of people they are. So the Lessings partner with Living Hungry also on our Healthy Food Prescription Program, which is a sponsored program of the Healthcare District of Palm Beach County. Every other Tuesday and Wednesday, over 6 months from November to April, the Lessings hosted 28 healthy food prescription events for free. As many as 90 neighbors living in poverty and suffering with uncontrolled diabetes came to fulfill the prescription their doctor or clinic had written for an abundant chef-quality food set that weighed around 80 pounds each, classes in the spa-like atmosphere of one of the most coveted wedding venues, the Pelican Club. And they did all of this to support positive health changes, lifestyle, eating habits, using food as medicine, and change they did. So we're happy and excited to announce today for the first time publicly the results of our Food as Medicine program. And Luce dropped 3.6 points in her A1C. She was our best. On average, the group lost 1.4 points in their A1C over that 6-month process. 8 pounds was lost on average, and cholesterol came down 14.3 points on average, with the highest 142 points. Yeah, these are not small. These are major life changes, so we're grateful. Not only are the Lessings generous partners with their dollars, but they're also generous with their staff, their facilities, their restaurants, everything. Thank you to the Lessings for all you do to care for your neighbors, providing good food to eat during the pandemic and using food as medicine for the sick and poor. I can personally attest that the Lessings are valued servants and the great contributors in their new home base of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
All right, while they're doing their pictures, can I ask Ike Powell, Tammy Fields, Dort Miller, Gary Graham, and Richard Elliott to join me up here? I know you thought you were going to see Commissioner Bernard, but I'm doing this on his behalf, so it's my honor to be able to do this for him. We are proclaiming that January 2023 as Mentoring Month in Palm Beach County. Whereas January 2023 will mark the 21st anniversary of National Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to focus on the need for mentors and how each of us can work together to increase the number of mentors to help ensure positive outcomes for young people. And whereas mentoring programs fill gaps for young people and families, connecting them with critical resources and services while ensuring that mentoring relationships continue either in person or virtually. And whereas mentoring plays a pivotal role in career exploration and supports the development of workplace skills by helping young people set career goals, equipping mentors with the skills needed to support the professional growth of young people, and driving positive outcomes for young people and businesses. And whereas quality mentoring promotes healthy relationships and communication, positive self-esteem, emotional well-being, and growth of young people and their relationships with adults. And whereas students who meet regularly with their mentors are more than 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, and youth who face an opportunity gap but have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those that did not have a mentor. And whereas youth who meet regularly with their mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs and 27% less likely to start drinking. Whereas National Mentoring Month is a time of year to celebrate, elevate, and encourage mentoring and recruit caring adult mentors throughout Palm Beach County. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners support organized mentoring initiatives and encourages participation in mentoring programs, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on this 10th day of January 2023, that January 2023 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Mentoring Month. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Mayor Weiss, for presenting this proclamation this morning. And we also want to thank Commissioner Bernard for sponsoring this proclamation. Good morning again, Mayor Weiss, Vice Mayor Sachs, all commissioners, and Administrator Baker. I'm Mike Powell with the Youth Services Department, and those who know me well know how passionate I am about mentoring. Thank you to the entire Board of County Commissioners and County Administration for your support and for all that you do. We are so appreciative for this proclamation declaring January as Mentoring Month here in Palm Beach County. It aligns us with nationwide efforts in highlighting the importance of mentoring during National Mentoring Month. The county's Youth Services Department and My Brother's Keeper Network of Palm Beach County collaborates with United Way of Palm Beach County and a host of agencies throughout Palm Beach County to foster high-quality mentoring programs throughout the county, including building capacity, providing technical assistance, as well as mentor recruitment and matching youth with mentors while providing equitable access to opportunities. You know, mentoring connects youth with a caring adult that listens and develops a relationship having very powerful impact on the success of young people in a variety of personal, academic, and professional situations. Many youth have experienced some form of trauma, and by being connected with a caring adult, that provides them with emotional support that's needed, and the youth is able to become resilient, thrive, and achieve great life outcomes. Often individuals ask me, what does it take to be a mentor? And I answer by saying keen listening skills, encouragement, inspiration, and being consistent and being there for their mentees. There's always available mentoring opportunities here in Palm Beach County. Thus, I always encourage everyone to serve as a mentor to a youth if you already haven't done so. There's a comprehensive list of mentoring opportunities available at unitedwaypbc.org/mentor. January 16th is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. We encourage everyone to get involved in service activities. It's a great opportunity to work side by side by our youth and young adults here in Palm Beach County. On January 19th at 7 p.m., the United Way of Palm Beach County will be hosting a mentor recruitment virtual event. They host these events regularly throughout the year to recruit mentors. And then January 25th through 27th A delegation of Palm Beach County agencies and representatives will be attending the National Mentoring Summit, some virtually and some in person in Washington, D.C. The summit commences its first day with what's called Capitol Hill Day, and this is where we have the opportunity to meet with our congressional representatives and share success stories while advocating for expansion of mentoring initiatives. I would like to recognize those that are here with me today in support. We have Assistant County Administrator Doran Miller, who's always there to support our efforts, as well as our Youth Services Department Director, Tammy Fields, is with us. And we also have representatives from United Way, Palm Beach County, that we work together nearly on a day-by-day basis. We have Gary Graham, Seth Bernstein, as well as Donna here with us, and Vivian from United Way. You know, we partnered with them several years ago, and we also partnered with the work we do with Children's Services Council. And just in the last couple of years, we're able to, through your support, the board support, fund a program that we call Level Up. And this program targets the very hard to serve, those youth that need extra support that may be involved in delinquency or the dependency system. And United Way takes the lead on that effort, and I want to commend them for the work and the accomplishments that they've had thus far. Again, want to express thank you on behalf of everybody here in Palm Beach County that's involved in the mentoring initiatives, and thank you for your continued support.
While they take pictures, may I ask Elizabeth Harfman to come up here? May I also ask the Homeless and Housing Alliance to come up? Hi, everyone. It is my honor to offer the second proclamation from me today. This is the proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring January 26th to 27th, 2023 as a 24-hour homeless point-in-time count day. Whereas the state of Florida ranks third in the nation for the highest homeless population, with New York and California ranking as 1 and 2. Whereas, according to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, homelessness is defined as people who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Individuals or families who will immediately lose their primary nighttime residence, families with children, or youth who are consistently housed, or people fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence or life-threatening situations related to violence. And whereas, each year, the Palm Beach County Homeless and Housing Alliance conducts the homeless point-in-time count to determine the amount of sheltered and unsheltered people experiencing homelessness on a single night in January in Palm Beach County. Whereas the Palm Beach County 2022 homeless point-in-time count identified 1,404 individuals and families experiencing homelessness, and whereas the homeless point-in-time count data helps local communities identify and plan services and programs to appropriately address local needs and measures progress in decreasing homelessness and identify strengths and gaps in the community's current homelessness assistance system. And whereas the Palm Beach County Homeless and Housing Alliance has developed Leading the Way Home, a comprehensive plan designed as the next phase of ending the cycle of homelessness in Palm Beach County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners, Florida, assembled in regular session this 10th day of January, that January 26 to 27, 2023 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed 24-hour homeless point-in-time count day.
just like to take this opportunity to thank you and thank everybody who's here with us today to receive this. I expect to see everybody signed up for the point in time count this year. Right, Ms. Baker?
Yes.
Boots on the ground, that's what you said.
That's right.
Really, we couldn't do it without you. We know that the affordable housing crisis continues, especially for the homeless and the very low income. Our biggest increases were in families last year and in the seniors. We expect that we'll have the highest count that we've seen in a while. So again, we need all boots on the ground. Anybody who's in the audience, come on out and help us. We have a good time. And right, Dorit? So we expect to see everybody there. Thanks again for all your support.
And while they're taking their pictures, I am the last presentation today, but I do want to say that I know the business at hand, which comes after this, is important to many of you that are in the room. But we here at the board recognize the importance and the need to thank and recognize and partner with many of the agencies that come before us and get these proclamations. So we do appreciate your patience while we do them. But for us, it is a labor of love, and it is a partnership that's important to the county, important to all of you as we go forward. So at this time, I would actually like to bring up members of the Seminole Maroon Remembrance Day project and several of our staff members, people from Palm Beach State College, the African American Research Library, Loxahatchee Battlefield Preservationists. There's a long list of people, but a lot of folks that invest a lot of time here. So if you would all come up to the podium, I'm happy to read the proclamation and then take a picture with all of you. Come on, not so shy, come on. So this is a proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring January 11th through 15th, 2023 as Seminole Maroon Remembrance Days. Whereas a crucial turning point in Florida's shared history occurred with two pivotal battles of the Loxahatchee on January 15th and 24th, 1838. 1838, wow, almost 200 years ago. Did I do my math right? 1838, at an established settlement of Native and African American Seminoles in Palm Beach County. And whereas this conflict effectively turned the tide of decades of stout resistance to colonizing encroachment on traditional lands and enslavement in the colonies to the north, and Native Americans and African Americans have united in defense of their freedom and prosperity, were captured under a flag of truce and sent to the Trails of Tears. And whereas the nonprofit organization Florida Black Historical Research Project was founded in 1996 precisely to bring this long-forgotten history to light for the common good through annual observances and other activities. And whereas FBHRP received a $50,000 grant for telling the full history from the National Trust for Historic Preservation and the National Endowment for the Humanities to preserve, interpret, and enhance Loxahatchee River Battlefield Park. And whereas in partnership with Palm Beach County Parks and Rec Department, Palm Beach State College, Palm Beach Gardens Campus, Loxahatchee Battlefield Preservationists, and the African American Research Library and Cultural Center of Palm Beach County, Inc., FBHRP is hosting the 185-year Seminole Maroon Family Reunion, January 11th through 15th. And whereas the reunion marks the 25th anniversary of Palm Beach County's 1998 reunion of Seminole Maroon descendants of the Oklahoma Trail of Tears survivors, and whereas the present groundbreaking reunion expands the 1998 vision by bringing together representative descendants from the Bahamas, Mexico, and Texas in addition to Oklahoma and Florida, complementing the April 2022 Convocation of Seminole War Historians hosted by LPB, presenting a historical focus on generations of Seminole peace. And whereas culminating in Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, the annual Seminole Maroon Spiritual Remembrance brings these diasporic communities closer together and strengthens the unity of the community with greater knowledge of this shared collective heritage. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session this 10th day of January, hereby proclaiming Seminole Maroon Remembrance Days. And Dr. Tinney, do you want to say a couple words? And do you want to, who wants to go first?
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner Marino. We are so pleased to be here representing Florida Black Historical Research Project. It was interesting that earlier they were talking about the human trafficking, and of course, the alliance that we are here representing today was an alliance of people who were trafficked humanly and came to Florida to escape that kind of treatment and were joined by Native Americans. So that this alliance, this Seminole alliance that we have, is something that is so important because there were thousands indeed of Seminoles here in the state of Florida who were exiled to other places. And by the time that the 19th century came around, there were very few Seminoles here because most of them were either in Oklahoma, Texas, Mexico, or the Bahamas. So we're so pleased to have the opportunity to have a reunion of some of the descendants of these people at Loxahatchee River Battlefield Park. And we have been working with the Parks Department for several years, for over 25 years, to bring recognition to the fact that 2 battles occurred there. And we have had great cooperation from the Parks Department. And getting this program together today, we also have great cooperation from the county and the African American Research Library, Palm Beach State College. And so we are thank you so much. We thank you.
Hi, good morning. Jennifer Cirillo. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for Palm Beach County. It's our honor to work with the Florida Black Historic Research Project for more than 25 years. Not many people know we have a battlefield in Palm Beach County that the public actually cares for and maintains, and there is programming there. I just want to mention real quick, if you're interested in signing up for the reunion, please do so today and go to the Florida Black Historic Research Project's website. They will be hosting programming at Palm Beach State College and also in the park this weekend, and it's going to be a wonderful weekend to experience and to remember. And thank you, Dr. Tinney.
Where are you? Anyone else want to speak?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Annie Nelson. I'm with the African American Research Library and Cultural Center of Palm Beach County. I'm delighted to work for the first time this year with the Florida Historical Preservation out of Miami. I want to thank you, Commissioner Marino, and the rest of the commissioners for this recognition.
Then it's the business at hand.
All right. Well, this was excellent. It's always so nice to hear about the wonderful things that both are happening in the community, but that people are making happen in our community. So I think it's a good use of the commission's time to bring people together and share these efforts that are happening. So thanks for everybody to be here today. All right, we're moving on to our regular agenda, number 5A1. This is an airports item. This is in front of us because it exceeds $300,000. So,
Mayor, I don't think we need a presentation.
okay, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve item A1, 5A1.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by Vice Mayor Sachs. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? This motion carries, would be 6-0, with Commissioner Bernard being absent.
And I'll also make a motion that we approve item 5A2.
This is a motion by Commissioner Marino on 5A2, A, B, and C, a second by Vice Mayor Sachs. Any discussion on this or presentation needed on this item? I don't see any. So with that, all those in favor, all those opposed, this item also carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. We try and get you out of here before you get up in your seat, but we don't always make that. Yeah, you need to stop going to the gym and moving so quickly. All right, moving on. This is, we revised, did we? What is 4? This is 5B.
One is deleted.
Okay, so it's been deleted by administration. Okay.
We are on 5C1.
Okay, we'll see that a little bit later. All right, moving on to 5C1, which has a revised, I believe it has a revised, yes, motion and summary. Does anybody require a presentation on this? You would like a presentation? Okay, so we'll have a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning to the Board of County Commissioners and Ms. Speaker. So at the table this morning with me, I have Jonathan Brown to my left. He is the Director of Housing and Economic Development. Sherry Howard, the Deputy Director, and we have Carlos, who also works in the Housing Department, Carlos Serrano, who's the Director of Planning. So this morning, for agenda item 5C1, the agenda item was revised to remove A in the recommended motion and also to remove 2 on page 39, that is a description. So this morning, just the background information, this is a continuation of the funds that the board approved earlier this year, $40.8 million, to make available to developers and others who are in the housing space for workforce and affordable housing to add new units. So if you recall, about 2 months ago, we brought before the board this first solicitation, request for proposal for $13 million. Of that $13 million, the board awarded over $8 million. This one now is for very low income individuals, to house those individuals with AMI of 50% or less. We submitted a notice of funding availability for $3.9 million to be available. We received some proposals. They were evaluated by staff. And then this morning, what we have are 3 awards to recommend to the board for approval. So if you will allow me, I will have Jonathan Brown, our director, to continue with the presentation.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. So as Dort mentioned, our department issued a notice of funding availability for $3.9 million. Other RFPs that we've brought through, we targeted workforce housing incomes. This one is targeting the affordable housing income. As Dort mentioned, those that are at 50% or below of the area median income. And so today staff is bringing before you 3 recommendations, 3 projects one of which is the $2,358,001 for the Neighborhood Renaissance for the Coleman Park project, and they are represented here today by Terry Murray. $409,500 in the ARPA funds for the Riviera Beach Housing Authority for a project in Riviera Beach on West Blue Heron Boulevard, and they are represented today by John Hertz. And then $857,000 in ARPA funds for the Oikos Development Corporation for Everglades Townhome, and they are represented today by Michael Snodgrass and one of our local legends, NFL Hall of Famer Ricky Jackson. And then for D, we're asking that a budget transfer be approved for the ARPA funds, as well as allowing staff to negotiate the final agreements and delegated authority with this item. So briefly, Neighborhood Renaissance Project is a new construction project where 43 units will be constructed between 22nd Street and State Street in West Palm Beach. 12 of the units, 12 of the households will be for incomes no greater than 50% AMI. One of the things we did with this particular RFP is that we looked for the longer affordability period, so you'll see affordability periods of no less than 50 years. Total project cost, development cost, is just over $19 million for this project, and the projects, once commenced, will need to be completed within 2 years. The second project, the Riviera Beach Housing Authority, 4 units located again in Riviera Beach. They will also be targeting those whose incomes are no greater than 50% AMI with a affordability period of no less than 50 years. The total development cost for this project is $819,000, also with a completion date within 2 years of today's approval. And then last, the Oikos Development Corporation, 60 units will be created in the city of Pahokee. 6 of the units will be for incomes no greater than 50% AMI. The remaining units are approximately up to 60% AMI with an affordability period of up to 50 years, total development costs of $19.6 million. And again, this particular project, once approved, will be completed within a 2-year time frame. So again, we solicit and request the Board of County Commissioners' approval on those recommendations.
If I may, we tend to use a lot of acronyms. I noticed too, ARPA, that is the American Rescue Plan, Ms. Speaker. You know, we received over $200 million, and in that allocation, the board approved $60 million to go toward housing. Of that $60 million, $20 million were freed up as part of that $40.8 million. So just wanted to know that is the source of funding, okay? And mention about period of affordability 50 years. What that means is that these units will be restricted to be within, to provide to residents for a period of at least 50 years, which is restricted by deed restriction. So we'll try to use this acronym and make sure that we're on it. So thank you, Mayor.
All right. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Please correct me if I misunderstood you. You said you had already received $8 million of previously approved funds?
Right, so of the 40.8 million that the board freed up for housing, we initially issued a solicitation RFP, making $13 million available. That was for affordable workforce housing units. We received responses, and of that $13 million that was available, $8.5 million was awarded. But that was for AMI 60% and above. So now, because we didn't want to, the criteria is somewhat different for affordable workforce developers, different from the ones who provide for low-income housing, 50% and less. And therefore, we thought it was more prudent not to have all these different developers to get into that same pool of fund. So we created a separate bucket of $3.8 million for 50% or less AMI. So that is the one for today.
From those funds, how many units were developed?
For, Sherry, do you want to-
13.
We can get that for you. We do have those numbers. Of the 13 million.
Right, of the 13 million.
Yeah.
Do you know approximately Are we talking 5 to 10, 20 to 30?
Oh, there were hundreds.
Hundreds?
We're in the hundreds, yeah.
You're correct. The Autumn Ridge project was approximately 100 units. That was one of the projects that came out of that. And then, I'm not sure, Carlos?
Remember, Carlos?
The other project was with Palm Beach County Housing Authority, and I
Oh,
believe it
yes.
was 48 units. Both of those projects were new construction.
So 48 for the 13 million?
Out of the $8 million that was allocated from the 13 million, it was to two projects, a 110-unit project, Autumn Ridge, and then the Palm Beach County Housing Authority project, 48 units. So total 158 units.
And during that time period as well, other funds were allocated towards housing. We are working on a report, okay, how that $40.8 million, how it's being used and the results.
Okay.
So I'll be happy to share that with you. We do have a draft to talk to the speaker about.
Thank you.
Right. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
It's long been a discussion about how many units we get for these dollars. And, you know, if you take the 158 units that you just talked about and divided that by 8 million, it's basically $50,000 a unit. So it's not, and that's why I thank you all for pulling that unit, the one unit that was $250,000 for one unit, because we know that the dollars, we're trying to spread them out as much as we can, but it's not like we're spending hundreds of $1,000s per unit. So I think what Sarah's asking is a legitimate question, because what it says to the rest of the board is, how many units are we building, and how much per unit are we augmenting the developers? It's not that we're building these units 100% by ourselves. It's that we are somehow contributing to the buy down of the cost of that property. And having said all that, and in reflection of what was in the paper about a month ago, we need to make sure that there is a check and balance, that those units stay, the rental units especially, stay in that pool and are being rented appropriately. And I know that we talked about the industry not wanting the checks and balances to come from the county, but given what happened, I believe there needs to be a better recognition and checks and balance from the county, making sure that somebody's phone, making sure that those units are going to the communities that actually need them the most.
So if we want
Please.
to respond? Yes, so that's correct, Commissioner Marino, is that these are typically gap financing, so the funds that the county typically, let us say, award to these projects are like the last bit of funding that they need to be able to begin construction. Now, for your next comment concerning compliance, HUD has a lot of regulations, and maybe Jonathan can speak to that. But the ARPA funding sources that we use for these housing actually models after the HUD regulations, that is the Housing and Urban Development, the federal dollars, which is very restrictive. So Jonathan can just address that for these particular units, how that actually works.
Yeah, and you'll see, Commissioner Marino, when it comes to either the HUD funding or the SHIP funding, there is a certain model that we have with regards to the monitoring. So what you would see in those programs, we look to replicate that in county-funded programs. And I know there'll be some more conversation with regards to the item that you brought up, but we do. We have the checks and balances. We take a look at the number of the units that are restricted. We confirm that those units are occupied by the right people at the right income levels, and we do that on an annual basis, just as some of our other departments do on their programs.
And on top of that, we are also audited by HUD.
Right. Good. Thank you.
HUD, the OIG, and the internal auditor, and the state.
It's very
And
restrictive.
Mayor?
Woodward, you're
Yes.
recognized.
Yes, I'd like to echo, thank you for taking the one property off. That I think if we're looking to do more housing, it needs to be multiple units, and maybe this can be readjusted for them in the future. My one question was, of the ARPA money, how much do we have left that's not allocated at this point? across with what was put towards housing. Do you know how much is left?
The 40.8 million.
We've actually allocated all of the ARPA dollars. If you're specifically asking how much is still left to be put on the street, I think we can answer that for the
You're
housing
talking about
portion.
approximately $4.5 million that is remaining that we're looking at issuing an RFP for multifamily units, if not the end of this month in February.
And on top of that, included in the 40 million was 10 million ad valorem dollars that the board had allocated. So we are in conversation with our boss here, Ms. Baker, that if it is a desire to issue an RFP for a large amount, we can certainly do that.
So that 10 million that's still there?
It's not, yeah. And we're trying to leave that as maybe the last bucket to touch because there's just so much flexibility since it is ad valorem dollars.
Okay. So 4.5 million would be what's ready to go out, but not spent yet.
And
yes,
if we want to go,
approximately. Okay.
$4.5 million in ARPA, yes, ma'am.
ARPA replacement.
All right, all right. All right, very good. Are there any further comments, questions? Do we have a motion? Oh, okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Woodward to approve item 5C1, A, B, and C. A, B, what do we have? Where's the new? That's just a summary. It's going to be
A, B, C, D, E, as revised, yeah. As revised.
No, they don't have, it's going to be A, B, C.
E, E, and F.
Oh, no, it doesn't have, no B. A, C, D, E, F, and G.
Okay.
Correct? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second by Vice Mayor Sachs. And seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
moving
very
on.
much.
All right, moving on to 5D1. This is to purchase some additional land in Palmar.
I don't
Need
need, I don't,
Does anyone need a presentation on this item?
No.
I've
Not
got my
seeing
light
any.
on, but I would like to comment.
Oh, you may most certainly comment.
Okay, and because Palmar is up in District 1, and this is something that we're striving to get as much bang for our buck for our dollars up there on the environmental lands, this is just another, of the $4 million that we've set aside to purchase environmental land, this is just another grouping of those dollars. We do need a supermajority for this. So that's just a reminder to the rest of the board. I don't think we need a presentation, and I just hope that in the future you're bringing more of these to us and that more of the owners of the lands in Palmar realize that the best thing they can do is join with the county to make those lands, protect those lands. So with that, I will make a motion to approve item D1A, B, C, and D.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. And now, moving on to 5E1, I think we are going to have a presentation from our Legislative Intergovernmental Affairs team. Mr. Von Laren, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Administrator, and County Attorney. First off, congratulations, Commissioner Barnett. It's great to have you here on the team. And our team that is before you here from our legislative team, I'm Todd Von Laren, Assistant County Administrator. Ed Chase, our Intergovernmental Affairs Director, joins me. Many of you had a chance to meet Casey Denny, who is our State Legislative Affairs Director, Deborah Posey-Blocker, who's our Intergovernmental Affairs Director with PalmTrend, and we apologize, she's lost her voice today. But I know that you guys hoped it was me or Ed that happened to. But we appreciate her being with us and an important part of the team. And then Annie Helfand from the County Attorney's Office, who helps guide us through a lot of these programs. Before you, we have our proposed 2023 state legislative agenda, which includes two documents, both our general government-related issues as well as specifically our document on the environmental and natural resources pieces that we put together. We know there are a lot of issues in our legislative agenda. And so many of those have carried over from year to year, and in this proposed agenda that we have before you, we've had an opportunity to hear some feedback from some of you individually, and so we've included some additional items that you'll find in this program that Mr. Chase will go over in that portion of our PowerPoint presentation. And we've tried to condense that PowerPoint presentation a little bit for you so that we go through some of the newer issues and discuss those, in addition to some of the local bills that we have. And of course, at the end, certainly want your input in terms of any new issues, things that you see in here that maybe we missed, or if there's anything in there that you think maybe for this session we need to think about removing from that and focus on other things. Certainly want that feedback from you as well. So with that in mind, I'll ask Mr. Chase to start us out.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Commissioners. We'll start with economic development. We always start in the Glades with our Glades regional initiatives. We will continue to support anything that provides economic growth and stimulus to that region, including what we can do for affordable housing, stormwater improvements. To that end, we will be making an appropriation request for Glades infrastructure again for $1.5 million. We will support the Everglades Restoration Agricultural Community Employment Training Program. That's colloquially known as the Everglades Workforce Training Program. We've been able to get $1.7 million for that over the past couple of years. One item we did notice that funding that has come forth from that has been awarded has not really been located in the Glades area. It's been sort of outside the Glades area, so we are working with the Department of Economic Opportunity, CareerSource, the Palm Beach County School Board, and Palm Beach State College to work with them to find out whether there's something in the rulemaking process that we might adjust, or how we might adjust our marketing to have more local businesses and more local students apply for that program. The Rural Jobs Tax Credit, that's an existing credit that is provided to new or expanding businesses in rural areas of opportunity, and that includes the Belglade, South Bay, and Pahokee. So currently it's valued at about $1,000 per new job. We would like to see that enhanced to bring that up to $2,000 tax credit for each new job and a $2,500 tax credit for any new eligible business that comes in that area. We will work for full funding for the Rural Infrastructure Fund. The Qualified Targeted Industries Reauthorization, that's a program that was retired in June of 2020. That's a program that actively tried to bring in high-wage, high-quality employers, kind of focusing on corporate headquarters, logistics and aerospace, clean tech, those kind of issues. So we would like to see that program reauthorized, especially as it would help our Business Development Board recruit new headquarters to our area. Peanut Island, we are looking to restore this rich piece of American history with a $1.5 million appropriation request that would assist in the restoration of Peanut Island's public use facilities. We do continue to support full funding for some of the proven statewide economic development programs, such as the Florida Job Growth Grant Fund, Enterprise Florida, Visit Florida, and we support investment of tourism dollars for the promotion of equine tourism throughout the state. On substance use and mental health funding, we continue to look for any opportunity to find increased funding to reduce opioid use and addiction disorder. Any opportunity for funding for treatment with an emphasis on youth services and expectant mothers, and treatment and awareness for youth suicide prevention. On the sober home issue, the State Attorney Addiction Recovery Task Force is what the Sober Homes Task Force is currently known as. That was created back in 2016 to monitor the operation of unregulated sober homes. That has turned out to be just an unqualified success in getting that situation under control. So we work with that task force very closely. They have a number of legislative priorities this year. We'll help them focus on two of them. One is a prohibition on the premises of a recovery residence against alcohol, marijuana, illegal drugs, or on the use of prescribed medications by an individual other than the individual for whom the medications are prescribed. And separately, a bill stating that a person who is discharged from a certified recovery residence and refuses to leave that residence now would commit a trespass in a recovery residence, which is a second-degree misdemeanor. The task force has approached Representative Mike Caruso as well as Senator Gail Harrell to push these bills forward. Both of those members, both Representative Caruso and Senator Harrell, have been our leaders on this issue over the past 3 or 4 years, and we're very grateful that, for have their work going forward. To talk about some affordable housing and health and human services, I will turn it over to Casey.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Moving on to affordable housing, Palm Beach County will support efforts to increase funding to ensure that the Sadowski Local Government Housing Trust funds are fully funded and appropriated only for affordable housing projects. In addition to that, moving on to homelessness, Palm Beach County would support efforts to identify and fund programs for the homeless, including the Sober Homes legislation, to provide options for preventing individuals who are forced to leave a home from becoming homeless, full funding for the State Apartment Incentive Loan Program, or SALE, funding for DCF Homeless Unified Challenge grants, and funding for youth homelessness prevention efforts. Now, landlord requirements is something new that we added to the state agenda, and this is really came out of the issue that we saw in the Glades region with a specific landlord who was ignoring multiple life safety issues and having tenants live in some unsafe conditions. So this has been adopted with the Florida Association of Counties agenda, and this was proposed and submitted by former Commissioner Melissa McKinley. So we would support legislation that would discourage the conduct of landlords who fail to provide and maintain basic minimum housing standards and intentionally ignore code violations that threaten the health and safety of their tenants. We would empower local governments to levy fines against landlords to recoup the cost of relocating the residents from condemned properties and hasten the process, allowing local governments to foreclose on and take title to property when it's in the interest of public safety. All right, moving into public safety and criminal justice, reentry for nonviolent offenders. This is supporting efforts to provide resources to ensure the successful reentry into the workforce of these individuals. And last year, we received an appropriation of $375,000 in state funding for Palm Beach County's Restore Reentry Program, which you'll see in a later slide. This year, we'll be pending your approval, submitting a request for $500,000 for this program. Moving on to the COPCN preemption, this issue has come up in past sessions, and Palm Beach County opposes or will oppose any effort to preempt the county's ability to grant these COPCNs to EMS providers within the county. This is also a new addition to the state agenda, expanding veterinary telemedicine. So during COVID in 2020, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation issued an emergency order that essentially suspended the laws preventing licensed veterinarians from visiting their patients via telemedicine. So our Animal Care and Control Department thought that this was a great idea, and they wanted to continue this and proposed that Palm Beach County supports legislation allowing or allowing licensed vets to treat their patients via telemedicine. And then included at the bottom here, we have the Juvenile Detention Center. This is actually included in the Department of Juvenile Justice agency budget that they're going to be presenting, which is a great start to secure this funding. Palm Beach County would support funding for the Juvenile Detention Center, which opened in 1998. It needs some repair and maintenance, so this would be funding to go towards that. And the county would also support additional funding for youth diversion programs as well. And important to note, the Criminal Justice Commission has agreed to write letters to the delegation in support of this.
We will move on to some local government issues. We always oppose any preemption that limits your ability to govern locally. Over the past couple of years, there's been an effort to preempt local wage mandates, one of which we have in Palm Beach County, so I wanted that included on our agenda. An issue that was brought forward by our Office of Economic Opportunity for your consideration is a public records exemption for complaints of discrimination. Their initiative would say this: instead of listing all protected classes, which may vary from time to time, that could include race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, handicap, marital status, they are suggesting that the statute be changed to say all complaints and other records in the custody of any unit of local government which relate to a complaint of discrimination are exempt from public record. So in addition to that, they'd also like to add another records exemption that says anything that is done or said in the practice of conciliation between parties with regard to local government discrimination would also remain under public record. Their thought is that would encourage more conciliation, more settlements, and leave businesses less likely to face the burden of a full-blown investigation. On building codes, the legislature did follow up some issues from Surfside, so we will monitor any follow-up items that come from the legislative session, including anything that would require any additional inspections or any efforts to delay inspections or any legislation that would address the required financial responsibility of condominium and community associations going forward. On impact fees, we would continue to oppose any legislation that would adversely affect the county's ability to collect voter-approved impact fees. On transportation network companies, we fought an issue last year that popped up that would have capped the fee that an airport would be able to charge for a Uber or Lyft or a transportation network company to pick up at the airport. They would limit that at $2. That would have drastically upset the very balanced budget of our Department of Airports, so we will continue to oppose any cap on that fee. On airport contracts, we are investigating legislation that would grant the ability to approve those airport contracts on consent agenda that would include an opportunity for public comment. So going forward, this initiative will be known as the Laura Beebe Board Meeting Appearance Reduction Act. And then finally, on sovereign immunity, a bill that popped up last year wanted to raise the level of sovereign immunity limits for local governments from $200,000 to $1 million. We were able to bring that down to a reasonable level, and then that bill finally went on. We would certainly consider, and it's been a while since that level has been increased, we would certainly consider a reasonable increase, but not to the extent of that initial proposal. Let's move to environment and natural resources. So we will always push for full funding of the beach budget, which is usually about $50 million. If that beach budget is fully funded, that would this year include 12 beach projects in Palm Beach County, totaling about $4.1 million. The Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative has considered proposals, and they have accepted and ranked 9 projects totaling $2.485 million. The Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative has considered and ranked 4 projects totaling $2.3 million. We will continue on the Palmer land issue to explore any opportunity we can to prioritize purchases, to move those purchases up on the state priority list. And on floating structures, we are doing a couple things. Number one, we're trying to make a statutory definition of a floating structure as opposed to a derelict vessel. And also, part of the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative is an appropriation for $100,000 for Palm Beach County to create a pilot project to kind of figure out a process of how to determine and remove safely those floating structures. So that is something that we will be working with the Florida Association of Counties on over the next year or so.
In an effort to continue some of the long-standing intergovernmental cooperation that we've had with our educational partners, Palm Beach County has included some of the platforms of the Palm Beach County School District, Palm Beach State College, and FAU as part of our legislative program, specifically on the school district side, looking to do things such as school safety, mental health, some of the base allocation for students, as well as some of the pre-K and after-school care to ensure that adequate funding exists for those programs. In the Palm Beach State College, working again to assist the college as one of our leading workforce training education institutions in the county, as well as for some PICO funding, and then on some supportive programming between them and the K through 12 system on college and career readiness, as well as mental health funding. And then finally with FAU, continuing to work with them in their search to be recognized as their goal as a top 100 public research university, working with them on their FAU Health Initiative, as well as PICO funding for the College of Dentistry, and then continuing, of course, with all of the vocational training programs that we work with all of these different entities. We move on to some of our appropriation requests that we have. Ed went over some of those already, but here's a snapshot of some others that we just wanted to highlight. Our Everglades Workforce Training Program we talked about in the beginning of $1.7 million, the Peanut Island piece of $1.5 million. Our Central Palm Beach County infrastructure allocation of $1 million to kind of work with some of those municipalities in the central part of our community, particularly in Commissioner Barnett's district, where you have some of those older cities that have infrastructure that need some upgrades, looking to try to match some of the ARPA dollars that we have at this with some state funding. Our transportation disadvantage, with which we put a considerable amount of money in to get some more funding from the state, and $2 million. Our Restore Reentry at $500,000. Our Glades region infrastructure to continue the upgrades to those underground pipes in the drinking water system out there, as well as on Lake Okeechobee with the shoreline restoration. And then our Green Cave Phase 2, $3 million for that incredible reuse facility. Also included this year are West Delray Regional Park, an important issue to our vice mayor. We've had a number of conversations of this board about that over the last year or so. And then supporting items such as Bush Wildlife Center. They appeared recently before the board requesting some support. And then also the Corbett Levy Phase 2, working closely with the Water Management District on this appropriation. And hopefully we'll get that secured this year.
Some commissioner requests that have been made during our conversations with you over the past couple of weeks that are included in this draft. Under the Florida's Film, Television, Digital Media section on page 9, we would add a statement that Palm Beach County supports film incentives for opioid awareness education funded through opioid settlement agreements. On page 15, we had conversations with Commissioner Woodward about the statewide guardianship issue. There was a fairly significant landmark bill last year that did open up some transparency with regard to how counties and courthouses can talk to each other about guardianship. So we would like to kind of look forward, look a little more closely into that, of how we can create some more transparency into that issue regarding guardianships in Florida. Also on the guardian ad litem issue, we will look for legislation on that as well. On page 17, we added an item on HR investigations. So this would support a public records exemption in matters of human resources investigation involving local government, but until that investigation is complete. On vacation rentals, Commissioner Weiss, Mayor, we talked a little bit about some other additions there. Added language supporting legislation that would require rental owners or operators to provide local government with specific contact information for each rental, including a public telephone number. And Commissioner, we also talked about providing a public records exemption that would enable local governments to identify the location of each rental. During some conversations yesterday, we talked about having a further conversation with the tax collector about that, so we will move forward with that as well. And on page 23, we added some language that hopefully would ease the requirements that would allow local governments to provide broadband access to underserved area. Currently, the list of rules and regulations and hoops that local governments has to go through is about a page and a half in statute. So we are working with our ISS department in trying to offer some changes to that to make that a little more available. And Casey will talk about some of the local bills that the delegation will hear on Thursday.
So the delegation, as Ed said, is going to be meeting on Thursday, January 12th, and they're going to hear 5 local bills. The first one, Boca Raton Airport Authority. This proposed bill makes several changes to the BRAA's special act, including increasing commissioner pay, updating various meeting attendance and frequency requirements, and transferring ownership of certain airport real estate to the authority from the state. The next is Jupiter Inlet District. This local bill makes updates to Jupiter Inlet District Special Act, including reducing their millage cap from 3 mills to 1.5 mills and increasing commissioner pay per meeting. The next bill is the Village of Wellington. This bill actually relates to 2 special districts, the Acme Improvement District, which is a dependent district of the Village of Wellington, and the Pine Tree Water Control District, which is an independent district located within the village's municipal boundaries. And the bill would take 2 parcels that are currently within the Pine Tree Water Control District and move them into the dependent Acme Improvement District's boundaries. The next bill is the Village of Loxahatchee, and this bill was submitted by a citizens group rather than a governmental entity, and the bill provides a charter to create the Village of Loxahatchee. The bill would only take effect if the charter was approved by a majority of the qualified electors during a special election referendum, which would be held November of this year. Lastly, we have the Indian Trail Improvement District bill, and this bill was introduced by the district, which would amend their special act to do 2 main things. It would allow them to create a feasibility study committee to explore if they can become a city under the process of incorporation or municipal conversion. And it would also provide the district with the powers of a safe neighborhoods program designated under Chapter 163 of Florida statutes, which allows them to provide roads for the exclusive benefit of landowners, residents, and invitees, and allows them to construct and maintain security structures to control the use of those roads. The bill also does require that the district make provisions for access for fire, police, and emergency vehicles.
And before I turn this over to Todd to close, I do want to thank our partners in the legislative process, Victoria Nolan, the Executive Director of the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation, and Janaea Mercado, who is the Legislative and Delegation Aide. They are as good partners and trusted partners as we can possibly have in this process. Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I want to thank you for your time and listening to some of the components of this year's proposed legislative agenda, and looking forward to some of your comments and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Nice presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to our concerns. On the handout you gave us, this one here, on page 31, regain local ability for limited gun regulation. I think that's a non-starter. Being realistic, I think we should remove that from this agenda and not waste the resources on it and put those resources to better use in other areas.
And Commissioner, just to that issue, I mean, this is one that went back to 2011. Legislature passed that, took away that ability locally. There's been a lot of pending litigation on that. It's actually before the Supreme Court. So maybe pending those discussions at the Supreme Court that we'll probably get later in the year, we can remove this from the agenda if the board is so inclined, and then we can report back to you on the status of how the Supreme Court opines on that, if that's your wish.
I think due to the fact that this is where it sits in the legislature right now and where it sits in the courts right now, again, I don't think we should be spending our resources on this because this really is a non-starter.
1 second. So, all right. Anything else?
I'm done.
Okay, so it's Commissioner Baxter. Okay, Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, and thank you, all of you, for the good fight that you do in Tallahassee. I'd like to ask a couple of questions, but first, I'd like to respond to Commissioner Marino's request to remove our proposal for any type of gun legislation. As someone who led 6,000 people after a Parkland tragedy, we have an interest in gun regulation in this county. And the lobbyist for pro-gun is Marion Hammer. She's relentless. We can never put our guard down. If it means that we will continue to speak out against the proliferation of guns or the lack of gun regulation, then so be it. But we should never, ever be silenced for what we believe in as constituents here in Palm Beach County. So I would certainly not want to go to be silenced with regard to what we propose as regular, common sense gun regulation here in Palm Beach County. And let me say that I was the one who funded the outdoor gun range here so that we would have education for our kids, and hunters would always have, or sportsmen as well. Gun aficionados would always have a place to go, but never should we ever be silenced in our quest for common sense gun regulation. Secondly, I would like to know if the federal government is going to be helping us with some of our requests, particularly with Corbett Levy or with some of the other issues that the federal government, through our congressional staff there, have said that they would help us with. Do we know, Todd, about how much we're going to be getting from the federal government to help us out?
Well, and I will just say this, we will be coming back to you next month with our federal legislative agenda. Okay. And it will include a series of policy issues in our agenda and some updates on some appropriations. And so if it's okay with you, that we can kind of bring in that presentation at the time and do a little deeper dive into some of the federal asks and some of the federal funding that we think we're going to be eligible for.
Excellent, because I know there must be money there, especially for the areas in the Glades that they have singular jurisdiction over. So very good, and thank you for the good fight, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
So firstly, I do want to second Commissioner Marino's motion. And I would like to say, I don't think we should ever be silenced. That's never the goal when it comes to these talks. But until you will never get my personal support on anything regarding gun regulations or so on, taking it further up, until we can assure that a cop can be where we need them instantly. And I think we're a long way from there. And so to me, this is one of those, we should always be able to protect ourselves in any situation. And this, just says we're going to trust that the state knows what they're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. All right, any further comments? Seeing none. I just, as it relates to, and I understand, Commissioner Marino, I think I understand your position as being realistic as to where the legislature is. I guess my issue is that it's a continued attack on home rule. And that's what I find. I think that we've seen it in last year we fought off, what was it, SB, was it 640? 620. The preemption to end all preemptions that thankfully the governor did not sign, but that the legislature did pass. But I think continuing to express our support for home rule, not only for us in Palm Beach County, but every other of the other 66 counties of the municipalities, that they make the best decisions. Those that are closest to the communities that they serve can make the best decisions. So notwithstanding the particular issue regarding the county's gun ordinances that were in effect prior to 2011, I think that my concern is the continuing erosion of our ability to provide the best possible legislation for our community. And we can easily have a discussion about whether or not something should be enacted in Palm Beach County, but we should be able to have that discussion. And the way it stands today is the legislature continues to erode our efforts to be able to do the work for our community. So that's my concern about it. You know, I think that they're, and so I support having it in there for no other reason I mean, I think, you know, we can have a discussion back here if we were ever to have that power granted back, and honestly, I think it would be very difficult for the legislature in the current makeup that it is, that it would support something, but I also want to make sure that our voice gets heard, that we want to make sure that they understand that we don't appreciate them enacting laws that remove local control. Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
I am a huge proponent of home rule. I think I've said that since day one. I don't believe that, and I understand where this legislation is, and it is if you are a person who has the ability to carry a gun, if you have a concealed weapons permit, as do many of us here on the commission, if different municipalities and different counties have different rules on carry or any other gun rules, and you're in your car and you're driving from here to Tallahassee and you're going through different municipalities and counties that have different legislation about it, that's an issue. That is where I understand the difference between home rule and something that is statewide and federal. So that is why I continue to remind the commission and staff that I am a huge proponent of home rule. You all know that, especially when city government, county government. But certain things are beyond that. And again, I think this is not a realistic, and I'm not saying we don't keep the fight. What I'm saying is this is an unrealistic fight at this juncture. So again, I think it's a waste of our time. So there you have it.
All right, Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I said when I had my review that I wouldn't support this, and part of it is because I agree with you. As responsible gun owners, when you travel out of state, it's your responsibility to know the laws of every state that you go to if you plan to carry your gun. And most responsible gun owners that I know are very diligent in that. We have little booklets. So it's very important that you obey the laws of the land where you travel. And as someone who lives in Boca, about 2 miles from the Broward border, this would be concerning to me that, no longer do I need to be very aware of the laws of the state of Florida. I need to be very aware of Broward or anywhere else that I travel. And I think, if anything, we would probably end up with a lot more people breaking the law unknowingly if we push for something like this. This is a large state, it's very diverse, and hopefully we can work with the state to have responsible gun laws. And if that's what we're pushing for, is to have that statewide, then that seems appropriate to me. But I very much, in home rule, I agree. We can best govern ourselves, but with something like this, that's very much with people traveling. I think we need to work more with the state and to work towards, making sure that everyone who comes to the state knows what the laws are statewide and not have to do 67 counties of regulation.
All right. What are you looking for?
What we're looking for is approval of the legislative agenda. So what I might recommend to, which we've done in previous years when there are specific issues within the agenda, if you want to take those individually and if you'd like to vote on that individually, and then as a package, the balance of the package to vote. And that's how we've disposed of any of those issues in previous years. So that would be my recommendation.
So my motion then stands that we remove from page 31, regain local ability for limited gun regulation.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by Commissioner Woodward.
I need to say something before we do I'd like to have a comment before we proceed, Mayor, because we have one commissioner missing. This is a big issue. Home rule is a big issue. We're not talking about the Second Amendment to the Constitution. We're not talking about firearms being able to, in the United States of America. We're talking about an issue that concerns home rule. And before we take this off of our legislative protocol for our team, we need to have all commissioners present. I don't think there would be any objection to waiting until, probably until we have the federal legislative team tell us what they're going to be providing before we take a vote that is of this importance to Palm Beach County to have the other commissioner present. So I would move an amended motion to wait until we have all commissioners present before we vote on something that is this important.
Would you like to accept the amendment? No.
I don't think it's
Is there
necessary.
a second?
Can't second it.
Then I will withdraw the amendment that would allow to have the other commissioner present before we vote on something this important. If the proponent of that first motion does not want to accept waiting until we have the other commissioner present, then I would make an alternative motion that would wait until we have 7 commissioners present before we remove an important part of our lobbying proposal to the state legislature, because I think that we have millions of people in this county, and many of whom have very strong feelings about home rule. And I think it would be unwise and imprudent of us to remove something from our legislative proposal without all 7 commissioners being present. That's my argument, that's my motion, and I'd like to have a second.
Can I ask a question?
So I guess Commissioner Baxter, you had your light lit first, and then we'll go to Commissioner Woodward.
With a slight amendment, Commissioner,
Sure, I'm up.
I will second that we wait if we don't reach at least 4 votes. You know, if we only have 3, right, and 3 and we're split, then we can wait for Commissioner Bernard. Does that seem fair? But if we have 4 to then
Well, if you get
just
3,
move on instead of prolonging it to wait until there's a full 7 here.
There's no prejudice to waiting.
Can I
There's
ask?
absolutely no, if I may, Commissioner Baxter, there's no prejudice to waiting. I think this is an important enough issue, and we will take a roll call, that we should have all 7 commissioners here. And the rule is, if you have a majority of commissioners that agree on a certain motion, it passes. I don't see any prejudice, and I think it's a good discussion to have. I think we should never fear the debate. If we have a discourse on this issue, I think that it is wise to have it and not prejudice one of our commissioners for not being part of that debate. So my motion is that we wait until we have 7 commissioners and have an active and transparent discussion on home rule with regard to this issue, and then let the commissioners vote as they will. And that would be the will of the commission, because you see, each one of us represents about 1 million people. And so if we're going to have, without a commissioner present, we're going to have a lack of transparency and a lack of their voice on an issue that I think is important to the whole county. So whatever our vote may be, we should all be able to represent the people in our district openly and transparently, without doing it without somebody present. So that's my motion, and I appreciate you trying to move it along. But I think it's important that we all participate in this, and not without any prejudice. If we don't do it today, if we do it next week or later this week, is there any prejudice to our lobbying team if we wait?
Can I ask a question about
Wait,
this?
I just want to
For
see if
staff.
there's any
No,
prejudice.
it's similar to what you're wanting to know.
Is
What
there-
One
what
second,
is
one
the
second.
consequence of waiting
well-
as far as you guys? Because I know you're preparing for session.
Right. So if one thing we can say, I mean, we do have a large legislative package before you of a lot of issues that our team is, starting to work on and actively engaged in, appropriation requests that we've got to get in. So there are a lot of things in this item that we do need to move forward with. And we've got committee meetings that have started in Tallahassee, and we're already getting, looking to get sponsors for some of these. So it's important to have that adopted proposal. If the board would like to wait on a particular item in there, I would recommend that you adopt the legislative agenda, and if there are specific ones that you want to delay adoption of to a future meeting, certainly, that might be a better recommendation. That way we can move forward with, the broader agenda, and if there are specific items that you want to wait and have a deeper conversation on at a future meeting, we can take that out and do that separately. But that would be my recommendation, that at least that, what we can agree on within the package today, that we ask for the board's support on that, and if there's other items that need further discussion, we're happy to bring that back as a separate item.
Is there a way to break it up?
Commissioner Woodward, you recognized.
Thank you. So I guess my question would be, I think delaying this overall is a bad idea because they have work to do immediately. So if there is a way to maybe take out this one issue and we could approve the rest of it and delay just on the one, is that a possibility?
That's what she's asking. Yeah.
No, I mean, but we would approve everything else so they can get started and then just delay the one?
Commissioner Sachs is asking.
So that was your amendment then?
Well, no, I think, Ms. Baker, did you want to say something as it? No? Okay. I think that look, this is the county. These are very important issues for every person in this county. Every person, whether in District 1 or District 7. We either approve this or we don't. And my motion is that we move forward with an open and transparent discussion on any of these issues when all 7 of us are here. Since one of the commissioners has brought up to delete one of these very important issues to all the people in the county, I think that it is well placed by that commissioner, and we should wait until we have 7. If there is no prejudice, it doesn't start till March, legislative session. I know committees are starting up. This is an important enough issue that every person in this county should have a representative on this board and to be able to give their opinion on it, whether it's good or whether it's yes or not on home rule. And so I am only moving that we wait until we'll have all 7 commissioners present to discuss it. That's my motion.
There's nothing that says this needs a supermajority to vote. So I continue with my motion to remove this item from this particular agenda, and then we can take a vote on it. If it's 3-3, the motion fails, and we continue the discussion. If it's 4-2, then the motion passes.
Do we have to have what are the rules?
Just a simple majority.
A simple majority, okay.
So, Commissioner Barnett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wanting to ask if we could get Commissioner Bernard here, have this discussion now.
He's on a
I
plane.
think he's on an airplane.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
It was from earlier.
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we have a motion and a second. We have a substitute motion, but with no second.
So we don't have a motion.
So the original motion, so we fall back to the original motion, which is to approve this without, and we can do it on a roll call vote.
If I may, I do not believe the motion was to approve the entire package and delay. I believe the motion was, and you can help me, Commissioner, I believe your motion was.
My motion
may
was
go
to-
to the clerk of the court,
delete it.
going back to being a lawyer.
My-
To the clerk to find out exactly what the original motion that was seconded. Could you read it back, please, Madam Clerk?
One moment, and I'll pull it up, please. The original motion from Commissioner Marino was to remove that item relating to gun legislation from page 31, and the motion was seconded by Commissioner Woodward.
And that's the vote. Okay, thank you. Then that will be the motion and the second that we'll take the roll call vote on today.
All right. So as the motion as repeated back by the clerk, so this would be a motion to remove this item, which is labeled on page 31, regain local ability for limited gun regulation. That is in front of us right now. So I will go ahead and call, if there's no further discussion on this item, I'll call the question. All those in favor of ma'am, excuse me.
I haven't said anything yet.
Okay. So.
You just thought I was.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's call the question. All those in favor of regain the local ability for limited gun regulation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Nay.
No. Nay.
Okay. So that motion then will pass.
But I have requested a voice roll call, Mayor.
Well, I just took the vote.
I know, but I'd like to have a roll call vote on who votes yes and who votes no.
But the record will show what everybody voted.
How will the record show?
It'll show.
Who voted no, then I just.
Okay,
I mean,
just in order.
clarification.
Okay. All right. Just, clerk, can you please repeat the votes by member, if you could? Can you just repeat the?
I believe that the vote that I had before you called it was that.
I don't think your mic's on.
I'm sorry. Did you want me to call the roll, or did you just want me to restate?
We've already taken the vote, so you can just repeat what they were by commissioner, so we can get it on, make sure it's on the record.
I was waiting for you to state it because I believe you said it was 5-1.
I'm sorry, it was 4-2.
I'm going to need to get that repeated
Okay.
because I heard
All right,
the
let's
ayes
just
and the
make it
nays,
clear.
but
Can you
not-
please take a roll call, ma'am?
Thank you. Commissioner Barnett.
Aye.
Commissioner Baxter.
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner Marino.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodward.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks.
No.
And Mayor Weiss.
No.
Thank you. So that will be 4 aye, 2 nay, 1 absent.
Okay. Would you like to make a
Now I will make a motion to accept the legislative agenda as amended.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Yes. We have a second from Commissioner Woodward, and Commissioner Baxter, you recognize.
There was something else I'd like to remove from the legislative agenda before we vote to approve all of this, if you don't mind.
So why don't we, can I ask you to, well, let's just hear what Commissioner.
I will remove.
No,
I will-
just, why don't we wait and see what she has to say?
okay.
And then we can decide what.
Thank you. So I would like to move to remove the local, to move to adopt the county's legislative agenda excluding the local option gas tax and local limited, just the option on the gas tax. Basically, that would fluctuate with inflation as per, I guess, the state does. I just don't believe we're using enough of our current gas tax dollars towards infrastructure repairs to then go to our constituents and ask them to pay even more money.
Commissioners, that's on page 21, on the bottom of 21, related to the indexing local option fuel taxes. Just so you're aware, this is an item we've had on the agenda, and in the past, we've worked to clarify with the state of wanting to index our local fuel tax to the CPI. There have been a number of conversations over the years about just, the shrinking and potentially of fuel tax and gas tax as a funding source. The state indexes their gas tax to CPI, but local governments are not able to do that. And we looked at this as being a potential revenue source to continue funding some capital projects. That's just an explanation of the item and why we've had it in the agenda.
Thank you.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd just like to say something.
Go ahead.
About it. So when I started digging into this, we get roughly 56 million approximate annually in gas tax. And 2/3 of that is not even going to repairing roads. So to then go to our voters and ask them to pay for, a higher increase in gas tax every time they go to the gas pump, and they're struggling with a lot of other things right now, I think we need to be responsible stewards of their money and not fight to have their gas tax increased until we are actually putting gas tax dollars towards infrastructure.
All right. Thank you. Do we have somebody here who can address this question about gas tax dollars not being utilized?
We actually utilize some of the gas tax for road improvements along with impact fees that help funds our 5-year capital program along with grants and interest, et cetera. But a significant amount of it goes to support our Palm Tran operation as well with ad valorem dollars and federal and state funding for Palm Tran. And so it is a split. I have had this discussion with the commissioner on Palm Tran and funding. We're going to be bringing that back to have an overall discussion on Palm Tran along with funding for all of our new members. But it is critical that we fund Palm Tran. It does take some cars off of the road. We are doing some creative things with Palm Tran. We need those dollars, otherwise it comes out of ad valorem solely, along with, federal and state funds and other grants that we can acquire. But it is up to this board on what you want to do with it. We do believe we should index it if the state is allowed to index. It'll go up, it'll fluctuate up and down, but that's a policy call. And so from your staff, we are recommending that we make this a priority. But it's up to
Thank
the
you.
board.
All right. So Commissioner Baxter has made a motion to remove, on page 21, indexing of local fuel taxes. I'm not hearing a second.
I need more information.
Okay, so with that motion will die for lack of a second.
No, what I said was, I do need more information on this, so whether we remove it or not, this is not a,
What date are we coming back to the board?
I just think we need a true perspective of how these dollars are spent, because, oftentimes gas prices go up and down, but what the state is charging for their gas tax fee stays the same. It's 9 cents, whatever it is on the gallon, and I'm not quite sure what the amount is, but it does not fluctuate.
We will bring that back to the board. I wasn't prepared to present that today. I'll work with OF&B and we can bring that back to the board or put it in a memo and send it to you, whichever you
Would that be okay?
prefer.
That works for me, but it's just something, do we want as a board to have them still fight for this until we have all that information?
I think this information is going to come to us in a relatively quick manner.
Yes, it will.
Then I'll remove my motion.
All right, thank you. That motion's been withdrawn. Still have a comment?
I sure do.
Okay, Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
I applaud the efforts of the board to, but I would like to have our lobbying team, I guess, next time. We have 3 new commissioners, and I look forward to them going to Tallahassee to see how the legislative process works. I know, I'm not sure if any of you have been there. I spent 10 years there, and I'm used to working in a minority position in Tallahassee. So I welcome different opinions. I would like to just ensure that every of our new commissioners spend a little time in Tallahassee speaking with the heads of the committees so that you know what a fight it is for us to get our legislative issues through. And I look forward to a lively discussion when you come back, and we'll see what we got done. So I look forward to that. Thank you very much, and thank you, staff, for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Baxter, you recognize.
So there are two more things, so bear with me, that I wanted to bring up to the board. I was looking at, so it was on the last slide, the Indian Trails Improvement District slide. There are two parts to it, and one I was good with, and the second one I would like to try to, with the boards, without an objection from anyone. So they want to do an incorporation study, which I'm okay with. The more information, the better. But there was a part of this called the Safe Neighborhoods Program Empowerment that would limit our ability to help the roads in an improvement district. To be clear, I am a fan of home rule, but I think the county should be able to go in and help with roads when needed. So I would move to remove the Safe Neighborhoods Program Empowerment from the legislative agenda.
Just a point of clarification, that item is not part of our legislative agenda. The presentation we did on the local bills was just informational so that so the board was aware what was pending before the delegation. That being said, if the board would like us to direct us to work with our delegation on that item, we'd be happy to work with the delegation, the sponsor on that.
So then I would change my motion to oppose the Safe Neighborhoods Program. Is that what the wording you need?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just to be clear, that is not part of our state legislative agenda, so can we just bifurcate that until after we get through, if there's anything else that needs to be removed, and then we can have a discussion about that item in particular. Does anyone have a problem with that? Okay, so with that, I would like a motion with the amended legislative agenda as been amended today. Do I have such a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Marino. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Barnett. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Okay, so now let's return back to Commissioner Baxter's question, comment regarding the local bill for Indian Trails Improvement District. And just to kick this off, I normally wait till the end, but I just want to say that I will not be supporting getting involved with the Indian Trails Improvement District if they feel like they want to incorporate or not. That's a study that they want to undertake. That's something for them and their voters to decide. And I also don't feel like I should be looking at their Safe Streets program if that's in fact what their voters decide. So just give you my background on that. And it's certainly something to bring up to the legislative delegation. If they don't want to support it, that's up to them. And if they do, but.
And Mayor, just so you know, I do agree with you. I don't want to stop. If they want to vote on it, please, let's let them vote on it. The safe, what I was referring to, the Safe Neighborhoods Program, takes that a step further in limiting our ability to help them.
Okay. All right.
Let's move on.
Anything else?
Let's move on.
Okay. All right, moving on. We are going to recess as the Board of County Commissioners, and if you don't notice, we are going to change into the Environmental Control Board. And with that, we have item 6A1. Does anyone need a presentation on this?
No.
We have a motion by Commissioner Marino, second by Vice Mayor Sachs. This is item 6A1, an appointment to their board, to the Board of the Environmental Control Hearing Board. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously, and we are adjourning as the Environmental Control Board, and we have now reconvened as the Board of County Commissioners. Moving on. District appointments. Let's go in district order number, might make it easier.
District 1 has no commission appointments at this time.
All right. District 2 has no appointments at this time. District 3, do you have any appointments, sir?
No appointments at this time, sir.
Okay. District 4.
None at this time.
Okay. District 5.
No, at this time.
And District 6.
I have 2 appointments.
Okay.
I would like to appoint Gloria Kelly to the Library Advisory Board, and I would,
Go ahead.
and I would like to appoint Josh Nichols to the Land Development Regulation Advisory Board.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Baxter and a second by Commissioner Marino. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you. All right, moving on. Administration comments, and I know we've got some guests here.
Thank you, Mayor. Just the board directives, if we can receive and file them. We're in the process of catching up over the holidays, so I have a better report for you next month.
Okay. Motion is to receive and file by Commissioner Marino.
My other item is we've got some guests coming to speak to us to just give an update. And Darcy Davis of the Healthcare District, along with Dr. Alonzo, who is our soon to leave us Director of the Health Department, who happens to sit, I want to say, as the chair of the Healthcare District Board now. There was some questions asked to their aeromedical program and what was going on with it. So I've asked Ms. Davis to come give the board a status update on it so that you'll hear it directly from her.
For off-site proclamations. Because I can't make the motion.
Am I on? Yeah?
Yeah.
Still morning? Yeah.
Press the button.
I have a presentation, hopefully. Nice to be here today and to meet the new commissioners. Also nice to be here not talking about COVID or home rule. But with me, of course, is Dr. Alonzo, who also is probably happy not to talk about COVID. She does serve as the chairman of the board for the Healthcare District. So she's here to provide support today. So just briefly, an overview that the Healthcare District does have the authority through the Healthcare Act, the Trauma Ordinance, and the County Code to administer the aeromedical program for the county. And in doing so, we are able to do various things, including trauma transport, the transportation of any medically needy patients from scene in partnership with county EMS, and then also interfacility transports when a higher level of specialty care is necessary. So that's just giving you a bit of the high-level statute framework. In terms of how we do that, we actually have a long-standing agreement and partnership with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. The Healthcare District has an FAA Air Carrier Certificate, which very stringent rules, but allows us to bill and collect from patients. But it also provides very stringent regulations in terms of what we are required to provide in terms of pilots and the way we approach maintenance, et cetera. The Healthcare District directly employs the pilots, the mechanics, and the administrative staff, as well as owns the hangar on airport property. And we provide that operational control along with the funding. Fire Rescue, they provide all the care in the back of the helicopter, and so they have the county COPCN and the advanced transport license, and they are the medical crew supervision, medical direction, and it's an excellent partnership. We actually, the arrangement right now, it's a 10-year agreement that expires in 2026, so we're a few years away from having to renew that agreement. Typical staffing, we have 2 helicopters that can transport 2 patients in the back, but one helicopter is staffed 24/7 and the other is 12 hours. We call that the mid-shift. It's an overlapping coverage. In order to do that, it requires 8, we call them line pilots. Those are the folks that are on schedule to respond in the event of a trauma or other reason. But in order to do that, we also use the relief shifts from our management. So instructor pilot, the director of quality, director of operations, they provide relief. The line pilots, they do 12-hour shifts typically, 4 days on, 4 days off, and we They fly single pilot except at night. Overnight, from 7P to 7A, there are 2 pilots, and that's to help prevent any, to provide the highest quality safety environment so that there's always a double check among our pilots. However, I think the reason I'm here and what you really want to hear is, so what's going on and why am I here? So there's been some disruption in our staffing. It's very typical to what's going on in the industry. As you all know from commercial airlines, pilots are in high demand, and as such, their price has gone up. There is a tremendous amount of competition right now, and as a result, we've lost several, including some of the management, to higher paying jobs, very much higher paying jobs. And we've had also a line pilot resignation for the same reason, and then a line pilot retirement. Several of the pilots that we have been there for a very long time. The program dates back to the very beginning of the healthcare district, so back in the early 90s. And several of them have been there almost since the beginning, including our director of operations. So we've had some resignations for those relief shifts, also 2 line pilots, taking us down to 6. At the same time, we've procured, we're in the process of buying 2 new helicopters, which I'll give you a little more information about in a few minutes. But in order to bring those new helicopters online, our existing pilots have to go to training, and it's about a month per pilot. This is new equipment, a different type of helicopter with different avionics, just an entirely different experience. So as part of that, they've been scheduled to go up to Philadelphia to do their training. And that has taken a few of the line pilots out of the schedule. Something else I wanted to make you aware of in terms of just the pilots themselves, to become a pilot in command, to be able to fly the helicopter by themselves, it takes a very long lead time. I could say it takes a very long runway to get them ready, because they have to be competent not only in the Sikorsky S-76C+. We've hired people from outside of our industry, so they need to know the healthcare industry. They may have been flying the same equipment, but in the oil industry, for example. They need to know the expectations of being in, healthcare emergency response. They need to be competent with the rules of the program that is, healthcare district Trauma Hawk program, and they need to know the geography if they've come from outside of Palm Beach County. So it takes a lead time, and that varies depending upon, again, what is their experience. Where, if any of these things differ, then the lead time would differ as well. So that's where we've been. Where are we at the moment? We have hired 3 pilots to replace those that have left for those other opportunities. 1 is on board and in training, so we see another month and a half or so of him getting up to speed. 2 others have accepted offers. Hopefully they will have a shorter lead time because they do have familiarity in the S-76. But again, they're onboarding and training later this month. The permanent instructor, which was one of our management relief positions, still pending, though we have an internal line pilot covering that. We also transitioned, so instead of 4 on, 4 off, we've gone to 3 on, 3 off, and that actually takes us down to 6. It's a crazy schedule if you look at it, but it takes us down to only 6 pilots being required to fill the 3 on, 3 off. And then we've reduced to the 1 helicopter 24/7, so we've eliminated that mid-shift, that overlapping shift. And our AW-169, which is the new helicopter that's online, is complete for all of the existing pilots. They're back in and available for schedule. It's just the new pilots that are in the pipeline that will need to get that training at some point. So we're going to delay that training for them to ensure that we're able to get fully back operational. Oh, boy. I'm not sure if you can see. I'm not sure if you can see that at all. I apologize. It's really small here. But let me tell you what I have provided just a little bit. In the middle, you'll see the blue and orange graphs. That is a year-over-year volume comparison. The yellow-ish is medical flights, and the blue are trauma flights. So you can see sort of the trend. But in particular, if you notice, we're really rebounding from COVID time. During COVID, people were not out doing dangerous behaviors, things that might result in a trauma, so we did see a big decline in our trauma volume. And now it's really rebounding here in 2022. That number that you probably couldn't see, and I have to look here, is 705 flights were done in 2022, patient volume, excuse me. Not necessarily flights, because we could take two in the back of a helicopter, but that's 705 flights. To my point about how we could take two, it doesn't happen that often. Typically, it's an on-scene accident where there might be casualties, but it only happened 14 times in 2022. The bottom graph that you're seeing go across talks about the mechanism of injury. What are the typical things that we're transporting people for? The number one item is injury to the head, followed by injury to the extremities. And in almost every case here, those numbers, the bar graph, the blue graph is actually 2022. The gray inside is the year prior. So you can see in almost every category except pulmonary, we've seen increases, and also looks like other trauma. We've seen increases in transports. The map at the top right talks about where the dispatch city is. Where did we pick the patient up? And you can maybe or maybe not see, but just geographically out west, west of 20 Mile Bend, mostly out in the Glades, is our largest location where we pick patients up. And then to the right, the far column talks about where we've transported them to. And no surprise, St. Mary's is the number one location as a level 1 trauma center. That's typically where folks from the Glades would end up. Even though Delray is also a level 1 trauma center, they see much less volume. And they are third behind JFK, which is number 2. So those are the stats. This is what we're expecting. This is the new equipment that we have purchased and are anxiously awaiting delivery. We currently have, as I mentioned, 2 Sikorsky S-76C pluses that were purchased in 1999, so they are certainly aging. But we did execute a new contract literally days before the world shut down for COVID for manufacture of the 2 Leonardo AW169s. And as a result of supply chain and a lot of other reasons, it's taken a little bit longer than expected, but we're now actually expecting delivery in April. The new helicopters also have the ability to transport 2 patients in the back. They're slightly larger with a little bit more cubic feet in the back. And this one will have the ability, both of them will have the ability with a mechanical lift. So for a larger patient, the paramedics, RNs will not be lifting the patient. This actually can be mechanically lifted. Obviously, as it's newer equipment, it has much better technology, avionics, tracking systems, much safer, even night vision goggles, which we haven't had. But it also, the bigger issue is that they are no longer producing the model that we currently have. There are no new productions, therefore there's a lot less support in terms of what we can get in parts and maintenance, et cetera. So this was necessary. But that's really what I had to present, unless there's anything specific or other questions.
So I'm only here to provide any medical information that you may want. That all sounds very interesting, but I want everybody to know that as a director of the health department, I've had the pleasure to serve on this board since 2009. And from the very beginning, one of the most important things in terms of our trauma system is how important safety is, not only for the pilots, but also for the people that we pick up. And I am very proud to live, I think, in the best county in the whole United States in terms of how careful and how important safety always is. So that's my 2 bits, and if you have any questions, we're ready for them.
Is it possible to get a copy of your presentation?
Okay. All right, we got a few folks that have signed up already. Sorry, Commissioner Barnett. No worries. We're all learning our way around here. All right, so Commissioner Sacks, you're recognized, then Commissioner Marino, then Commissioner Barnett.
I yield my first time to our new Commissioner Barnett. You go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know if we could get a copy of your presentation.
Absolutely. I've shared it with staff here, so if, however they need to distribute that, I'm absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're very welcome. All right. Vice Mayor Sacks, and then Commissioner Marino.
Thank you for that very good presentation. The Sheriff's Office has a couple. I remember funding these for our healthcare district a number of years ago. But the sheriff, tell us about how many helicopters for trauma, I think they call it Trauma Hawks, that the sheriff office has.
So the sheriff does not have, in Palm Beach County, the healthcare district operates the aeromedical program. So the sheriff does, search and rescue. We do truly medical transport, not the same mission.
Has the sheriff's office ever used their Trauma Hawks for transport of medical?
No, but to answer your question differently, the reverse would be possible. So in the event of a mass casualty or some other unique event, the sheriff could have the ability to put a patient in the back of his helicopter if necessary. I've spoken with the sheriff personally. I mean, he has no desire to do that. We would not want him to do that, but obviously if there were an unfortunate, mass tragedy, that would be a possibility.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Sacks. Commissioner Marino.
You'd think after 2 years I'd remember to turn my microphone on. So for clarification, when we have 2 new helicopters, will they both be on call at the same time with appropriate staffing?
The expectation is that we will maintain that overlapping schedule regardless of the equipment. So as soon, we want to get back to the overlapping schedule as soon as our pilots are trained, and then carry that beyond when the new helicopters are here. So yes, regardless of the helicopters.
Because one of your lines said 1 helicopter 24/7.
That's how we're operating today because of the shortage of the existing pilots. So as soon as those that are in the pipeline are trained, our intention is to get back to the overlapping scheduling. Again, regardless of timing of delivery of the new helicopters, it's really staff dependent, pilot dependent.
And this might be a little out of order, but Chief Kennedy, do you have anything you want to add or any questions you might have?
Just in time.
You can say no, but if you'd like to, fire rescue is important to this procedure, so.
Absolutely.
Somebody was whispering in my ear over there, I apologize. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, all I can say is that communication lines have been open between ourselves and the healthcare district, and we've been working through these staffing issues, so our firefighters are ready to get back on the other Trauma Hawk when it comes available, and we are using our resources out in the field.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Okay. No other further comments. Thank you, and thank you both for being here today, and thank you for the update and keeping us safe here in Palm Beach
Pleasure.
County.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet all the new commissioners. Welcome.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We are now to County Attorney. Do you have any comments? No comments from the County Attorney. All right. Commission districts, Commissioner comments. We will start. Commissioner Baxter, we're not going to leave you sitting down there by yourself, so we'll start with you.
I'm going to reserve my comments for later.
Okay. All right. Vice Mayor Sacks, do you have any comments?
I'd like to invite everybody. February 3rd is our Veterans Benefit Fair. So if you are a veteran or widow or widower of a veteran, or if you know of a veteran, we are very proud to have the head of the Florida Veterans Affairs from Tallahassee come down to Palm Beach County at our South County Civic Center. He's Major General Hartzell. He goes by the name of Hammer. Ask him why he's known as the Hammer, and it's very interesting. He's a wonderful American and hero, and he will be there to welcome us. This is basically for benefits that we offer for veterans, all of our veterans. We're the second largest state for veterans, so we welcome that. Also, one other comment, if I could, Mayor. I am looking at art in public places. This was an issue that we took up in the legislature a number of years ago. And we have so many white walls here in our public buildings that I'd like to cover them with beautiful art. I've been working, and thank you, Isami, for our art that she's going to be working with us. We're starting at the courthouse, and we're going to be working our way here to this building. We have, as we heard today, the Black Historical Society has artwork that we'd like to show to all the members who come into our public building, as well as the Palm Beach Historical Society. Been working with Harvey Oyer on the beginning of Palm Beach County and the art that will illustrate that. Caribbean history, we want to show that as well. The Norton Museum has already said they're going to participate, as well as the CEO of the Boca Raton Museum. So I welcome all the commissioners, especially you, Commissioner Woodward, from your Boca Raton Historical Museum, all of us, to let us know. We're working with Isami, who's the head of facilities, and we can rotate the art as we like. One thing you'll never see is any artwork from Commissioner Sachs, because not an artist. No. But what we will do is we'll show art from all over the county. So I look forward to working with you all, and thank you, Isami, from the back of the room, for working with us on that. Thank you. And I would like to request, on behalf of our mayor, a request for an off-site proclamation declaring January 13th, 2023 as Substance Use and Mental Health Disorders Treatment Day in Palm Beach County. And then I'd like to do the other one as well. I'd like to request on behalf of our mayor for off-site proclamation recognizing the importance of the Martin Luther King Jr. commemoration ceremony and the work of the Palm Beach County Community Remembrance Project Coalition. And I'm sure that we could have do we need to have a vote on this, clerk? No? Okay, so
No.
moved.
Okay,
So shall it be.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor Sachs. All right, moving along, let's go ahead. We'll move on to you, Commissioner Marino.
Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to invite everybody out to Roger Dean Stadium from 4 to 7 this Saturday as I play kickball in the Heroes versus Hot Shots event for the Student ACES program. I know that they're all over the county. We have a concentration in the Glades where they have a building, and we just are doing this as getting people aware of the program. So if you're in the area of Roger Dean on Saturday from 4 to 7 and you want to see me make a fool out of myself playing kickball, I'll be the oldest person out there. So that would be one. But I'd also like to say that last month you asked the board to determine what their priorities should be as we go forward. And I believe we should do a resident opinion survey to help us better understand what the priorities of our residents are. And in turn, this would give us a better area of where we should be focusing. It is not something that would be generated by county staff. This is something I think that should be, there's plenty of agencies that do this, but I think this is something that shouldn't be generated by our staff. Should be an objective, outside, transparent agency that would do something like this, and I would ask the support of the board for a resident survey, and that would be direction to staff. But also, I think going forward too, I would like to say that I think we need, and Virginia, I know you always get crazy when I say this, and the first thing I said when I took office was I wanted to make sure that we were really good stewards of our dollars, but I think we need to figure out a way to, across the board, tighten our belts, because we're going to be in for some interesting years ahead, and we need to see where we can concentrate our efforts to save some money. You know me. So those would be my comments for this moment. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, do I need a?
So moved.
Thank you. A motion for their resident survey.
So you want, is anybody opposed to you're opposed to giving direction to do a resident survey?
I wonder if we could have that restated. Again, I wonder if we could have restated by the clerk, because I thought it said that staff would not be doing it. Commissioner Marino, will staff be providing this resident survey?
The way a survey is done most effectively is when it is done by an outside agency and not staff-driven. We can give input as to, and Virginia, guide me on this, we can give input as to the questions that we are looking for answers to, but the actual wording of the questions and the development of it would be an independent outside agency. So there is no herding in a particular direction.
If I may, Mayor.
One second. And it's, yeah, and okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
I'm just so sorry, I don't understand. Will the taxpayers be paying for some independent agency to do a poll of all of the residents of Palm Beach County?
Correct. That is what I'm asking
Before
for.
I can vote, yay or nay, it's a little bit like, do you trust TikTok or Twitter? You know, I don't know.
Until and just to help us from going down this path, what she's looking for, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to give staff direction. They'll go out, they'll find a company, agency that can provide this type of service. It will come back in front of this board because there's no budget allocation at this point to do it. So it'll come back for this board for approval. But she's wanting to give staff direction to go out and actually do the work to bring it back to us so that we can opine on it.
So the motion is?
There's no motion.
Oh, okay. I think it's a great idea. Whatever you
Okay,
want.
there we
Commissioner
go.
Marino, I know you have great ideas. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
All right. Does anybody have any opposition to giving staff direction to bring this back to us? Okay. Not seeing any. All right. So.
Thank you.
Just
Administration.
clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Do you want me, to do a survey, I need to have some idea of what areas we're going to survey. So if you will give us permission, I will speak with each of you to see what areas you're concerned about the most. And then we'll follow our procurement process in order to do the survey. So we'll provide them with the data that we have from you. We'll hire a third party to actually do the survey. We won't have anything as far as staff to do with it. They'll pull the information together, and then we'll present that information back to the board.
Is that good for you?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
And I have to amend my notification about the kickball game this weekend. It's being rescheduled. I just got a text, so you won't see me making a fool of myself on Saturday.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have something to bring forward. I'll try to be very fast because I'm borderline hangry, and want to make sure we all get some food. I would like to. I sent everyone a letter. I hope you got the copies of it. This is in regards to workforce housing and also potentially affordable housing. I know that they're different entities. My concerns come from. We have a fixed number of units that we ever had at some point. Say, I believe the numbers floated around, it's maybe 4,500 units. However, especially when it comes to rental units, we don't currently have a way of tracking once it's gone out to lease the first, maybe second time. We don't have a way right now that we are actively tracking these units to make sure that as they get released, or if a building gets bought and new owners have come in, that they're honoring the exact number of workforce units that they ever had. So I have several questions here wanting to know as far as how many rental workforce units we have been approved and built, activated to date. And, I believe that they all have deed restrictions on them so that they should remain workforce housing units. And I've had my staff preliminarily try to get some information on this, where they call some of the apartments that we know should have workforce housing units, and we have not been able to get a straight answer at how many right now are actively leased at workforce housing as to qualified people. And it seems that maybe a lot of these have gone to full market value. Potentially, this has been a question that I've had, and it's starting to come out into the news. A couple of places are now being called out for not honoring the number of workforce housing units. So I have a list of questions here that I've provided for everyone, but all of this is leading to, I would like for us to have a database that is kept up. I know that the question was at one point, these properties were considering maybe going through us as the leasing process went. I am not encouraging that at all. I want just for us to have information. Once they have leased a unit, they have to give us information that we can be transparent, and which means obviously I don't need the person's name, we don't need their address, we don't need private information, of course, but we need to be able to keep a handle on exactly how many units we have in this county at any given time that's being occupied by workforce housing recipients or qualified lessees, I guess would be the right word, and also how many vacancies we have, because that's another question that came. Every single place we called had one unit left, which is suspicious. It could be true. Maybe, I don't know. But I would like to know if there was a building, say it was built with 400 units and they're supposed to have 80 workforce housing units and they only have one left, do we know 79 other units are being leased at that price? And that's what's been agreed to. That's part of this entire program. And I know it's maybe something that kind of got away from us because we were looking at building more units, and in the meantime, it's like a silo. We're adding new units, but I think some of them are falling out the bottom. So this is a way that I would like. I know we have the workshop coming up on the 31st to talk about this issue, and I wanted to go ahead and put it out there today. If we can do our best to at least get this started, so that we have a database that we're working on, and it be made known to all places out there that have deed restricted workforce housing units that we are going to want a record every time it turns over, that it's continuing to be that. And if we can expand that to also affordable housing, because I think that they're two different entities, but it's still taxpayer money and agreements that have been made to build these units. And I, for one, would like to know that they are continuing to be those units. So I don't know if that's a motion or not, but.
It's a direction.
A direction, okay. Sorry, my first one of those, so direction, so.
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
We agree with you. We actually have the annual reports that come in, but we know that we need to do a better job. I don't have the appropriate staff, so we are discussing about a third party, possibly doing more of it and doing actual audits, et cetera, but we'll be working on that. You have a January 31st workshop, and part of that will be making some recommendations to our process today. We also have created a database working with our municipalities as well, so that we can all put that information into one database, and anybody can go to our website, and it's my understanding it is up and running already. So we'll have it ready on the 31st to share with the board. We are working with municipalities. There are a few that are starting to put that information in. Because we all need to know where this housing is, especially our business people, because they can then recommend their employees to these locations. But we are going to need, and it's music to my ears, that this board wants us to do a tighter tracking. We had some measures in place before, but they didn't necessarily work out. So we'll work with industry. Come back to, we'll lay it out for the board. You give us your directions and we'll make it happen. We may have to ask for a few more dollars of allocation, or come up with another mechanism in which we can fund that third party that could be doing that work on a regular basis, as opposed to staff fitting it in within the schedule. But you're absolutely correct.
All right. Anything else, Commissioner Woodward? Okay, thank you very much. And Commissioner Barnett, any additional comments so far?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When that email came in at 8:53 this morning, I felt my blood pressure drop significantly. I could breathe again, and I knew it was going to happen. And I'm really excited and happy to be here. I know I keep saying that over and over again, my meetings with you and with so many other members of the staff and my conversations with my fellow commissioners, you know just how I feel about this. I was very nervous and trepidatious at first, but I never shy away from a grand opportunity to do good and good for the people I grew up with here in Palm Beach County. 35-year resident, and it's the greatest honor I've ever had. And I've done a lot of great things, but I think this is the paramount. I want to make you all proud. I want to make my colleagues proud, the governor proud who gave me this commission, and most importantly, the people I'm going to be representing in District 3 and in general across the county. Now, don't ever really say a lot, and I won't, especially at the beginning. I have a lot of listening and learning to do. I'm going to be absorbing a lot, and I hope that's a relief to folks who don't like to hear long speeches, because you never get long speeches from me anyways, ever. I do want to say, Commissioner Marino, I strongly endorse your call for tightening up our belts, and there's music to my ears to hear that. All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to working with you all and meeting with many of you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Barnett. All right. Let's do this. If you will just, I think we need this as a motion, so can you just do the request again? You can just ask for the request for just the two proclamations. You don't have to read the whole thing.
As I requested before, there are two requests. And this is in the form of a motion, so I'll need a second and a vote. And this is for declaring Substance Use and Mental Health Disorder Treatment Day. And the second one is recognizing the importance of Martin Luther King Jr. commemoration ceremony. Do I have a second?
We have a second by Commissioner Marino. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. So those off-site proclamations move forward. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
I was waiting to expand on Marcy's direction. And going forward, I find this going to be very important when we start allocating dollars from the bond that just went through for the database to maybe even come not just from municipalities, but maybe from the building or developments that are supposed to have these, and some sort of report directly instead of going through a lot of red tape.
Okay, thank you. All right, comes to me for my comments. Couple things. Just remind my board members that we have the pink buses downstairs on 3rd Street. So we'll go immediately from here over there, and then we'll have lunch, and then we're due back here at 2 p.m. for matters by the public. And I didn't want to take away from bringing Commissioner Barnett onto our dais when I made my comments at that time. But so I do want to be sure to recognize and thank our former colleague, Commissioner Kerner, for his 6 years of service on this board. He was not only a good friend as a colleague here, but he served his district and the people of Palm Beach County honorably. He never shied away from, his points, his principles, but he did so in a way that was always respectful of people who were on the opposite side. And I want to recognize his efforts and what he has done, especially in the area of law enforcement and first responders. There was probably never a stronger advocate on this board than Commissioner Kerner, and we're can wish him future success, and just I want to make sure that he knows that this board is thanking him for his years of service to our community. So with that,
I'll second that.
okay. With that, we'll be in recess until 2 p.m.